to see how the heritage of its citadel is being preserved and fortified.
My first visit to the Kasbah around 20 years ago coincided, I now realise, with one of the earliest signs of its revival. This was a new venture by an elderly Kasbaji shopkeeper named El Haj Zubir. Dar El Marusa, Zubir's historic house, painstakingly restored from a semi-ruin, was just opening to the public. Today, the massive studded street door conceals a thriving museum restaurant run by his 6 children, carrying on the legacy of their father, who died in 2022. Visitors explore the ornate interior, dine on the Algérois noodle dish called reshta, and maybe listen to musicians performing the hypnotic and plangent shabi music of the old Kasbah. But when Zubir bought the property in 1996, the middle of the Black Decade, the worst years of a vicious civil war, the warren of steep, narrow alleys was semi-deserted, still infested with the Islamist terrorists who murdered police and journalists venturing there. Echoes of that period still linger. When I went to the old Café Malakoff for its Thursday night Shabi session recently, my elderly taxi driver refused until I found a police patrol for him to park beside. "That's in the Kasbah," he kept muttering. "I'm not going there, especially at night." The ending of the Black Decade, achieved via a mixture of military crackdown and amnesty, reduced the Kasbah's insecurity, but didn't tackle the decrepitude. Everywhere, buildings decayed or collapsed, pulling down their neighbours, blocking alleyways and cutting water pipes. Old residents left, replaced by squatters from the countryside, often letting the buildings deteriorate more so they'd be rehoused by the authorities. Video footage from that era shows Zubir strolling the alleys, bemoaning the loss of the traditional way of life, repeating wistfully, "All the old families have gone." For years, a succession of conferences vacillated over schemes for regeneration, and associations like Sauvons la Kasbah, Let's Save the Kasbah, criticised the lack of government action. At one point, a collapsing house killed 5 occupants, and an angry crowd hurled abuse at visiting city officials. One researcher stated that the only practicable way to save the Kasbah was to demolish it and build a replica. But little by little, important monuments began to receive attention. The Palace of the Dey, the Ottoman-era governor, has been beautifully restored. So has the Ketchawa Mosque, financed appropriately enough by the Turkish government, and 7 more major sites are on the list for action. Gradually, individual dwellings are being restored too, using masons, carpenters and coppersmiths from the little local workshops. A prominent recent example is the house of the family of Jamila Buhired, one of the most celebrated mujahideen of the 1950s War of Liberation, during which she planted bombs in French-frequented cafes. The Kasbah's little Ali Lapointe Museum, devoted to one of the star freedom fighters of the Battle of Algiers, is now an established attraction, and virtually every second street bears the name of a hero or martyr of that conflict. But the Kasbah is not all war memorial. The museum restaurants have seen a boom in iftar parties, boisterous late-night buffets breaking the Ramadan fast. Does all this add up to impending gentrification? Property prices are increasing in the lower Kasbah, but estate agents told me that historic Kasbah houses rarely come up for sale, and then often privately between Kasbah dwellers. The dark, closed style of the Kasbah's dwellings doesn't appeal to modern Algérois, an architect told me. "My clients want new flats with balconies and views," he said. Nonetheless, El Haj Zubir's far-sighted investment during the Black Decade has undoubtedly paid off.
Philip Sweeney in Algiers. And that's all for this programme. Thanks for listening. I'm James Kamarasamy. The producer was Polly Hope. We'll be back next weekend with more stories of the real lives behind the global headlines.
That was the BBC programme.
Good morning, Manitoba. It is Monday, July 13th. You're listening to Information Radio on CBC Radio 1. I'm Chloe Friesen, filling in for Marcy Marcusa this week. Let's say hello to our team this morning. Abby Adiemi is our technical producer. Darren Morash is our YouTube live stream producer. And Corey Funk is our show director. And Heather Wells is here with news headlines. Good morning.
Good morning. Well, all eyes are on the Assiniboine River in Brandon. It could crest as early as today. Mayor Jeff Fawcett says levels have risen by nearly 2.5 meters or 8 feet in just the last few days. All the heavy rain that flooded the parkland is now funneling towards Brandon. We're going to hear more from Mayor Fawcett, who says crews have been working around the clock to prepare for this crest. 6 provinces battled for gold at the Women's Baseball National Championship. It was held in Winnipeg over the weekend. Team Manitoba finished 5th in the tournament after beating Saskatchewan. More than 100 athletes competed in this event, including Jewel Thompson, who hopes the tournament helps a new generation of girls see what's possible for them on the baseball diamond. You can find more news updated throughout the day on our website, but I'll be back with more Manitoba news coming up at 6:30.
All right. Thank you very much, Heather.
Thank you.
That is CBC's Heather Wells. Well, coming up today on Information Radio. It's easier than ever to buy a pair of smart glasses, but what risks do the unassuming eyeglasses carry, especially when AI joins the party? We'll speak to someone who's been studying this wearable tech after 8 o'clock. As well, cities like Montreal are using more natural ways to mitigate flooding. They have a series of something called sponge parks. Coming up, we're going to hear from a local expert on how Winnipeg could potentially benefit if we build them here. As well, the reaction to the Nakba exhibit at the Canadian Museum for Human Rights has been divided. Coming up, we will hear from a curator in Sweden about her experience opening up a similar exhibit. CBC Manitoba's weekend host Nadia Kidwai has an interview about that just after 7 o'clock. And of course, we cannot forget about soccer, football, whatever you call it. The World Cup semifinals start tomorrow with a showdown between France and Spain. And then Wednesday brings an England versus Argentina matchup. We'll take a closer look at the competition with sports reporter Ed Kleiman. That's coming up just after 6 o'clock.
Hi, I'm Jill Deacon, sitting in for Tom Power.
But you are not serious people.
During its iconic run, Succession had everyone on the edge of their seats waiting every week for a new episode. The show's creator, Jesse Armstrong, will bring you behind the scenes and explain why the F word sounds so much better with a Scottish accent.
Q, this morning at 10:30 in Newfoundland, and on CBC Listen, or wherever you get your podcasts.
This World Report. Good morning. I'm Marcia Young. A fire destroyed a bar in Bangkok overnight. At least 27 people are dead. Video shows fire shooting out the front door. Black smoke pours out onto the street and into the air. The country's prime minister says a musician at the bar said smoke was coming out of a circuit breaker. The power went out, then there was an explosion. 25 others are in critical condition. Investigators are working to determine the cause of the fire. 3 people were killed in 2 separate shootings in Toronto over the weekend. Several others were injured. The search continues for the people who opened fire during a street festival. 2 people were killed and multiple others injured during Salsa on St. Clair on Saturday. Thousands of people had gathered when a gunfight broke out. The CBC's Philip Lee Shannock has more.
This community works so hard. I don't think it's a reflection of the area.
Jennifer Goulet says residents are still processing a reckless act of violence at a crowded festival. But she says the community that hosts Canada's largest celebration of Latino music and culture is resilient.
I think it is likely some kind of isolated incident. The community here is so fortified. Everybody works so hard to support one another.
Toronto police say 2 men began firing at each other while in a crowd of 13,000 people. Restaurant owner Harsh Chawla says he sheltered as many as he could.
And the patio was full of customers, so we all ducked. We brought everybody in the restaurant. We made sure everybody was safe.
Bernardo Cisternas, who lives in the area, says people need to be reassured that the many summer festivals in the city are safe.
I think it's for the city to respond in a very loud way and take back control of what we used to be, which was a safe city, a clean city.
Deputy Chief Frank Barato says despite the shooting, the city is safe.
We are 3 million people, and unfortunately we are not completely immune to some of the things that happen globally, quite frankly. But Toronto is an extremely safe city.
He says 2 guns were found at the scene, and investigators have lots of witnesses and video evidence. No arrests have been made. Philip Shannock, CBC News, Toronto.
The U.S. military completed another barrage of strikes against Iran overnight. According to U.S. Central Command, dozens of targets were hit. Missiles are launched from a U.S. naval vessel. Washington says it hit Iranian air defense systems, coastal radar sites, and small boats. The strikes are an attempt to stop Iranian attacks on commercial ships in the Strait of Hormuz.
در پی تجاوزات بامداد امروز آمریکا به مناطقی در جنوب ایران
Iranian media says the country's army has responded by targeting nations in the region. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps says it struck U.S. military facilities in Bahrain and Kuwait. The IRGC also destroyed radar systems in Oman. The renewed hostility casts further doubt on the future of the month-old U.S.-Iranian ceasefire. A power shift is brewing in Washington. Senator Lindsey Graham's death over the weekend has left U.S. President Donald Trump without one of his closest allies. The South Carolina Republican died from a tear in his aorta. He turned 71 just 2 days before his death. The CBC's Willie Lowry joins me now from Washington. And Willie, what impact does this have on the Trump administration?
Lindsey Graham was one of the most high-profile Republicans in the Senate and a longtime champion of a more robust and interventionist foreign policy. He was also a close confidant, friend, and political ally to President Donald Trump. His influence helped steer much of American foreign policy over the last decade and certainly during this second Trump administration. He was very active on the Ukraine file, advocating for more military support there. He had, in fact, just returned from the country the day before he died. Preliminary reports suggest he died of an aortic dissection, which is when a tear emerges in the inner layer of the main artery. He was also a big supporter of the Iran war and of Israel. His loss will be felt not just here in Washington, but by American allies in Europe and the Middle East. He constantly pushed for more military support for both Ukraine and Israel.
There are concerns about the health of another Republican, Senator Mitch McConnell. What do we know?
That's right. The former Senate Majority Leader issued a statement yesterday almost appearing as a proof of life message. The 84-year-old had not cast a vote in the Senate since June 11th and has not been seen in public since June 14th. McConnell's office has released a photo of the senator sitting alongside his wife with his hand on a newspaper. McConnell says he fell and was briefly unconscious before being taken to hospital. He also said that he had mild pneumonia and that he was still not well enough to return to work, but that he was recovering. McConnell is set to retire in January. For decades, he was one of the most powerful Republicans in Washington and has been credited with pushing through several conservative Supreme Court nominees.
Thank you, Willie.
My pleasure.
The CBC's Willie Lowry in Washington. Trade relations between Canada and the U.S. remain on the rocks, and a multi-million-dollar backlog of banned U.S. alcohol only adding fuel to the fire. While the rest of the country has found ways to offload their banned U.S. booze, Ontario has not. The province is holding on to a roughly $80 million stockpile. As the CBC's Colin Butler reports, the situation is increasingly irritating U.S. diplomats.
The fog of war continues because I haven't seen anyone talk about what's going to happen with that inventory.
That's Marvin Ryder, a marketing professor at McMaster University. Ontario's Liquor Board says it spent $8 million storing the stranded American inventory. 97% is still within its normal shelf life and 3% expired.
I don't think they know what they're going to do when the green light comes.
If the end game is uncertain, the beginning wasn't much easier.
Chaos. Absolute chaos.
Stacey Kyle is the executive director of British Columbia's Import Vintners and Spirits Association. She says warehouses are built around predictable inventory, not millions of dollars worth of returned alcohol arriving all at once.
I can say one thing on paper or on your spreadsheet, but when you actually go and physically open up the boxes and you realize that what you thought you had isn't what you thought you had.
British Columbia found a way to move or sell off at least some of its existing American inventory. So has every other province in Canada. Ontario has not, and it's clearly getting under the American skin. U.S. Ambassador Pete Hoekstra even ended his recent 4th of July speech with a wish.
Next year, hopefully we can all take a toast of American bourbon legally in the province of Ontario.
For now, Ontario's bourbon stays bottled up in more ways than one. Colin Butler, CBC News, London, Ontario.
Alberta's digital gambling market is getting a shakeup. The province plans to open its gambling market to outside operators. Dozens of companies are eager to set up shop. But as Salim Valji reports, the transition comes with addiction warnings.
We can expect a significant uptick in advertising. Same thing has happened in Ontario years ago, and that's a problem.
Alberta is now allowing private gambling operators to set up in the province as of today, following Ontario, which launched in 2022. But it comes with risks. Robert Williams is the research coordinator with the Alberta Gambling Research Institute. He explains the downside of that messaging, particularly for problem gamblers.
These constant reminders, are often precipitators for relapse.
Prior to today, the only way Albertans could legally wager on sports is through Play Alberta, a platform operated by the province. 80% of Alberta's gambling revenue will now go to operators, with 20% coming back to the province. Alberta is introducing voluntary self-exclusion right from the launch. Users who feel they are gambling too much can sign up and then be barred from casinos and gaming platforms for up to 3 years. Provincial officials say they wanted to open the market because many Albertans were already gambling. They're just using offshore websites that couldn't be regulated or taxed. Salim Valji, CBC News, Calgary.
Actor Sam Neill is dead. He appeared in dozens of films and TV series, but is best known for his role as the lead in 1993's Jurassic Park. Neill played the paleontologist Dr. Alan Grant. He played the reluctant hero who would rather be digging up dead dinosaurs than escaping from the prehistoric predators.
You stare at him, and he just stares right back. That's when the attack comes, not from the front, but from the side. The other two raptors, you didn't even know were there.
Neill announced in 2023 he had a rare form of cancer. His family said he was cancer-free when he died. They did not give a cause of death. Sam Neill was 78. I'm Marcia Young.
Good morning, Manitoba. I'm Chloe Friesen, filling in this morning for Marcy Marcusa. You're listening to Information Radio on CBC Radio 1. 89.3 FM, 990 AM on our YouTube live stream or anywhere on your CBC News app. Thank you for joining us. Coming up on the show, the World Cup semifinals start tomorrow with the showdown between France and Spain. Then Wednesday brings an England versus Argentina matchup. We'll take a closer look at the competition with sports reporter Ed Kleiman. Also still ahead, what South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham's death means for the Republican Party ahead of November's midterm elections. But first, the Winnipeg Fringe Theatre Festival gets underway in just a few days. Coming up, we'll hear from a local autistic comedian who will be performing at the fest. He's been a local champion for neurodivergent comedy for years. But first, it's time for news headlines with CBC's Heather Wells. Good morning.
Good morning. While thousands of people living near the Assiniboine River in Brandon have been warned to have go bags ready in case flooding forces them out, the river is expected to crest today and remain at peak levels for a period of time. As of yesterday, evacuation orders had not yet been issued for Brandon. So we'll hear the latest on the situation there. And buses, taxis, public transit, all things that do not exist in many rural Manitoba communities. But now, Red River Rides is giving people in the St. Pierre-Jolie area a way to get around. We'll hear about it in our next local news coming up at 6:30.
Thank you very much, Heather.
Thank you.
Well, hello and good morning to our Information Radio team today. Darren Morash is our YouTube live stream producer. Abby Adiemi is our technical producer. He will be with us for a quick look at the forecast. But first, we're going to head to Corey Funk, our show director this morning. He will be keeping an eye on the commute. You also have weather. Look at that, multitasker.
Yes, I'm trying my best here. And I mean, I guess let's start with the weather. Why not? It is hot. Another hot one out there. It has been, I was hitting up those splash pads this weekend, and they were bumping.
Oh, I believe it. The place to be.
Yeah, shout out to the Kildonan Park Splash Pad. That place is amazing. Today, very similar story looking ahead. 26 already. Right now in Winnipeg, orange heat warning in effect for much of southern Manitoba. It's going to hit 35 today, and with the humidex, it's going to feel more like 45, almost halfway to boiling, if you put it that way. Very, very hot out there. Drink lots of water. Dipping down to 20 overnight, and then tomorrow, high of just 30. Not too bad.
Only 30?
I know, it's going to feel cold. Get your sweaters out. Up and further up north to around like Flin Flon and the Paw area, yellow heat warning as well. So still quite warm up there as well, with forecast today still in like the around 30 or so. So it's going to be a hot day here in much of Manitoba. Turn to your commute. Very quiet so far. Haven't heard of many major issues. We are in the mid-summer vibes right now. But if you do see something going on, if you're walking, you're biking, you're driving, give me a call on the CBC commuter line. That number, 204-788-3093.
Well, this summer, the Ontario government will be increasing speed limits on hundreds of kilometers of highway. Police tell us that speed kills, but many drivers travel above the posted limit just to keep pace with traffic. So, this weekend, CBC's Cross Country Checkup asked callers, are the streets or highways where you live too fast or too slow? What's your speeding story? Here's what some callers shared with host Ian Hannamansing.
Well, I was driving from Kamloops to Kelowna, and there's a bit of a patch of windy road with a rock cut to one side of the road. This young woman, who I discovered it was a young woman afterward, whips by me, obviously speeding. I said out loud, I said, "Oh man, slow down. That's not good. You're going to spin out." And as soon as I said that, she did. She spun right out, and she flung over to the side of the road, ended up in the ditch. She actually slammed against the rock wall before settling in the ditch, facing the other direction on the highway. I gently pulled over. 2 or 3 other cars pulled over, ran back to try and get her. One gentleman was already yanking her out of the car. I helped him, and we got her out of the car. We asked, "Is there anybody else in there?" She goes, no, there's nobody else in there. She was injured, and we ran about 10, 15 yards. By the time we actually was able to settle down, the car exploded behind us because it was already on fire when she actually hit the wall.
So you're driving into Victoria, you hit these different types of speed limits. You're going 50, and then you're going 60, and then it goes down to 40, and then the school zone's 30, which is fine. It's the inconsistency of the travel. You almost have to be aware. Now, what's the speed limit around here? Now, Saanich just changed all their side roads to 40. Now, there's one street called Bay Street. It goes out to the Royal Jubilee. It's been 40 for about 8 months. No one goes 40. Everyone's going 50 and 60 because it's a well-driven road, and it's okay. It's nicely paved. Why am I going 40?
Being a Quebecer, I find in Quebec on the auto routes that there's a good adherence to people using slow lanes versus fast lanes, or center lanes for coasting lanes versus the right lane for exiting and then the furthest left lane for passing. But I always find when I go to other cities, easily into Ontario, which is probably going to start an argument on this radio show, just speaking to Ontario, especially when I drive into the city into Ottawa, I find that there's not really as much of an adherence to which lane is what lane is used for what. It has a lot more to do with just kind of following the flow of traffic. And if the slow lane is the one that's going the fastest, that the flow is in, then everyone just kind of coasts and stays in that lane. So just a comment on that a little bit more awareness and adherence to which lane is used for what would be super cool.
Those are some of the callers on the latest edition of Cross Country Checkup, answering the question, are the streets or highways where you live too fast or too slow? What's your speeding story? You can download the Checkup podcast or listen on the CBC Listen app or at cbc.ca/checkup. And reminder, Checkup airs every Sunday starting at 3 p.m. Central on CBC Radio 1 and streaming on the CBC Listen app.
You know the voices that tell the story of our province. Now you can take them anywhere.
From the essential start to your day on information radio to the conversations that define our lunch hour on Radio Noon and the pulse of the city on Up to Speed, your local connection is always within reach. Just open the CBC News app, tap the local drop-down, and hit play. Your favorite voices, your province, right in your pocket. Download the CBC News app today, your daily rhythm, live and local.
Still to come on Information Radio, we're talking about the political implosion of Graham Plattner. The Democratic candidate for Maine's Senate seat drops out of the race amid scandal. What does it mean for the Democratic Party looking ahead to November's midterm elections? We will have more on that story ahead on Information Radio. But first, Winnipeg songwriter Jacob Brodowski has just launched his latest album titled Tell the Kids We Tried. You can catch him performing live next month at the Fire and Water Music Festival in Lac du Bonny. Here is Beneath It All.
Lately I've been feeling so down. Lately I've been feeling so down. Lately I've been feeling so down beneath it all. You don't have to try to hide. You don't have to try to hide. You don't have to try to hide what you can't recall. It's not getting any brighter. It's not fading out of view. But your eyes are dry. You plainly quantify while the suffering sprawls, and our fear does too. You don't have to be so cruel. You don't have to be so cruel. You don't have to be so cruel in the way you sound. You don't know the harm you cause. You don't know the harm you cause. You don't know your harm has costs and will come around. How can we have kids amidst this? How can we keep our conscience clean? How can we justify our likeness to the lives we rub erasers on in the name of a dream? Will we ever be the same? Will we ever be the same? Will we all stay insane or admit defeat? Someday we'll all be free. Someday we'll all be free. Someday we'll all be free or fast asleep. Someday we'll all be free or fast asleep. Someday we'll all be free or fast asleep.
From his new album, Tell the Kids We Tried, that was Jacob Brodowski with Beneath It All. You can catch him performing live at the upcoming Fire and Water Music Festival in Lac du Bonny. The time is 6:21. You're listening to Information Radio on CBC Radio 1. I'm Chloe Friesen. It's been a busy weekend in American politics with quite the shakeup for the U.S. Senate. On Saturday, Senator Lindsey Graham, a key Republican Trump ally, died unexpectedly at age 71. Now, the effort begins to fill the longtime South Carolina lawmaker's seat. At the same time, the state of Maine is center stage for the implosion of Graham Plattner's Senate campaign after a woman accused him of sexual assault. Plattner denies the allegation but withdrew from the race last week. It's left Democrats scrambling to find a replacement to put on the ballot. Matthew Lebo is a professor of political science at Western University and joins us now. Good morning.
Good morning.
So tell us more about Lindsey Graham. His death was quite unexpected. Why was he such a consequential figure?
I think of Lindsey Graham as really covering the arc of Republican politics over the last 30 years. He was first elected in 1994 to the House as part of the Gingrich Revolution that saw the Republicans gain the House majority for the first time in 40 years. And then he ran as a senator in 2002. He worked with a lot of Democrats. He got in a lot of trouble with Republicans for working with Democrats so closely. He was good friends with Joe Biden and Joe Lieberman, passed a lot of bipartisan legislation. And then he ran for president in 2016, and he was really vocal against Donald Trump. He said, if we nominate Donald Trump, we'll get destroyed and we'll deserve it. But once Donald Trump became president, Graham really changed his tune and became Trump's closest ally, perhaps, in the Senate and his golfing buddy, and sort of brought the Republican Party to Donald Trump, or brought MAGA into the Republican Party and sort of normalized Donald Trump as a president. And there was just a few people like Lindsey Graham that sort of kept Donald Trump from being an outsider to both Republicans and Democrats. And that was a really important part of his legacy. He fought for Donald Trump in the 2020 election. He tried to help get Georgia to find new votes. He put pressure on the Republicans counting votes in Georgia. And then he helped Donald Trump with his comeback in 2024. That's just a key part of what he did.
So what happens now in South Carolina?
So there's a Republican governor in South Carolina, and they will appoint a temporary senator who will serve out the rest of the year. Graham was due for re-election. He was running for his fifth term, and that election will be in November. And now there will be a primary in South Carolina in 3 weeks. And so people have to decide quickly if they want to run. And then the Republicans in South Carolina will choose who they want to replace Graham on the ballot. And that person will probably have a pretty good chance of winning because it's such a heavily Republican state.
Now, the other name making headlines is Graham Plattner. Can you remind us who he is and what made him such a, I guess, unusual Senate candidate?
Yeah, he's only 42. He's a former Marine and oyster farmer. He doesn't have a college education. He was getting involved in local politics a couple years ago with some online posts and a couple speeches, and they were circulating around, and some Democratic recruiters decided that he'd be a great candidate for the Senate. People like Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren endorsed him and got behind him. He was a real outsider. He likes to talk about the establishment, and he's fighting against the establishment, and that gained a lot of support among Maine Democrats who maybe want to capture some of that populist magic they think that Donald Trump has got that's attracted a lot of white working class voters. And then Plattner beat Janet Mills, who's the sitting Democratic governor of Maine, for that nomination. But all along, these revelations kept coming out that he'd had inappropriate comments with women. He was posting things online that were pretty offensive. He has a tattoo of a Nazi symbol on his chest that he denied knowing what it was when he got it, and then had it covered up. And now these latest allegations, and so he was a really problematic candidate. And I think a lot of Democrats are really relieved to see him gone.
So why are Democrats putting so much focus into Maine's Senate race?
So, every state, no matter how many people it has, gets 2 senators. And Maine has 2 senators, and there's so few people there that when you spend money in Maine, it goes a long way. So the Democratic Party might spend a couple $100s per voter trying to get Maine to switch. Right now, it's held by Republican Susan Collins. She's not very popular. Donald Trump is really unpopular in Maine, as he is in lots of states. And the Democrats desperately want 4 more seats in the Senate so that they can have the majority. If they can get the majority in January, then you might have impeachment hearings, impeachment trials that are pretty serious. It would keep Donald Trump from being able to appoint new Supreme Court justices. And it might set things up so that in 2029, if the Democrats can win the House and the Senate and the presidency, that they could start undoing some of the damage that Donald Trump has done. So as a swing state, it's just super important. It's hard to imagine Democrats winning back a majority if they can't win Maine.
So what then does the collapse of Plattner's campaign mean for the Democrats and their goal to flip the state?
I think it improves their chances. Plattner had so many problems. A lot of people were really unhappy about it. A lot of Maine Democrats maybe wouldn't have voted for him or voted at all. A lot of Democrats outside of Maine really worried about, well, how can we defend this candidate and go after Republican candidates who have their own problematic histories, including people like Donald Trump and Ken Paxton, who's running for the Senate in Texas. And, Collins is unpopular. All you really need in Maine to win is just some generic Democrat who doesn't have any personal history. A nameless, faceless Democrat is the best candidate right now against Donald Trump and Susan Collins. And so they'll have to pick somebody who just cannot turn off any Maine Democrats and independents for the fall election.
Matthew, how much of what is happening now in Maine with Plattner's campaign and finding his replacement do you think is a reflection of the struggle within the party over its future?
Yeah, the Democrats, they're just always, there's divisions within that party that are just based on people wanting different things out of their candidates. And they like the idea of the outsider candidates. And especially, part of the lore of Donald Trump is that he brought white working class voters to the party that used to consider themselves to be Democrats. And Democrats want those voters back. And so they see someone like Plattner and they think, oh, that's the guy who's going to get all those white working class voters, especially men, to come back to the Democratic Party in Maine. But when they choose these outsiders, they don't have any experience. They haven't been vetted properly. And so the idea of an outsider can really backfire. And that's what's happened here. They chose him over a sitting Democratic governor with a long history, didn't have problematic past, but people are sick of the establishment. They want something different. And so you're going to keep seeing these kinds of decisions being made by parties.
Matthew, I really appreciate you joining us this morning. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Matthew Lebo is a professor of political science at Western University. Still to come in this hour of Information Radio, we will take you to your business news as well. France versus Spain, England versus Argentina. Who will make it to the World Cup finals? That story is coming up just after your 6:30 news.
This is CBC News. Good morning. I'm Heather Wells in Winnipeg. At 6:30, it is 26 degrees already. It's going to be much like yesterday, mostly sunny, bit of a south wind, and a high today of 35. The humidex at 44. And sweltering heat still stifles the province. More heat warnings are in effect for parts of North Manitoba as well as the Interlake and parts of Eastern Manitoba. Those are yellow level warnings. Southern Manitoba, including Winnipeg and Brandon, under an orange level warning. Temperatures in the mid-30s are expected. The hottest spot yesterday in the province was McCreary at 36.7 degrees. That was a new record. Environment Canada says, in fact, 7 new records were set yesterday, while 4 locations tied previous records. Now, all eyes are on the Assiniboine River in Brandon. It could crest as early as today. Mayor Jeff Fawcett says levels have risen nearly 2.5 meters. That's 8 feet in the last few days. All the heavy rain that flooded the parkland is now funneling towards Brandon. Fawcett says the river could rise another foot and stay at that level for a while. He says the weather cooperated over the weekend and crews are working around the clock to prepare.
Infrastructure in place, and it's monitored and maintained, and it gives us a viable chance to make it through these things.
Crews closed First Street northbound near Dinsdale Park after water levels rose and seeped through the sandbags. Traffic had to be redirected. The city of Brandon will give us a flood update later this morning. Now, thousands of people living near the Assiniboine in Brandon have been warned to have their go bags ready just in case flooding forces them out. Lana Carnegie lives near the river's southern bank with her dog and cat. Their kennels are ready, and she's packed up their food in the event of an evacuation. She also has a go bag for herself if needed.
Take it as it is. Don't panic. Like, what's going to happen is going to happen. There's nothing else we can do at this point in time. So it's just waiting for the crest, and just be ready. Have your stuff ready. That's the best thing you can do.
As of yesterday, evacuation orders had not yet been issued in Brandon. The city of Thompson hopes its new crime suppression unit will be a step towards increased public safety. The new unit will work with Thompson RCMP and local security officers to do probation checks, write mischief tickets, and tackle crime. Money to support this unit has come from the province and the city. Thompson's mayor, Colleen Smook, says their main priority is the city's downtown.
What this 4-person unit will do will basically mainly answer downtown calls, patrol the downtown for what's needed. But then once downtown quiets for that, then they've also got the ability to outstanding warrants. They will follow up on some of them.
The province announced last year it would donate $250,000 to get that team started. More attacks and counterattacks between the U.S. and Iran over the control of the Strait of Hormuz. An American missile launch. Central Command says it hit dozens of Iranian sites today, while Bahrain, Kuwait, and Jordan say they shot down Iranian missiles. Renewed hostilities are sending oil prices back upwards, with benchmark Brent crude approaching $80 a barrel. You can hear the latest national and international news coming up on World Report at 7. Buses, taxis, public transit, all things that do not exist in many rural Manitoba communities. But now, Red River Rides is giving people living in St. Pierre-Jolie and municipalities of Richot and de Salaberry a way to get around. It's a car share program using electric vehicles. Richot Mayor Chris Ewan hopes the program makes living in the country more accessible to more people.
I have seen missed opportunities with immigration where people are looking at living in larger hubs because they don't have the availability of a vehicle. They don't have transportation opportunity. So if we can kind of cross that off of their concern, that's one step closer to becoming a member in rural Manitoba.
This program is funded by all 3 levels of government. Some of Canada's best female baseball players took a swing at winning the national championship in Winnipeg this weekend. Team Manitoba erupting in cheers after scoring a home run. More than 100 athletes from 6 provinces faced each other in this tournament. In the crowd, 10-year-old Brenley Thomas from the Red River Coyotes under-12 baseball team.
It feels good to see what I might be doing 10 years from now. It would be cool if I could try it. I could do that when I'm older.
Manitoba finished this championship in 5th place after beating Saskatchewan 15-4. You can find the latest news updated throughout the day. All you have to do is head to cbc.ca/Manitoba.
Thank you so much, Heather.
Thank you.
That is CBC's Heather Wells. I'm Chloe Friesen, filling in for Marcy Marcusa. I am joined by our show director, Corey Funk. He is here for updates on the weather and the commute. Hey, Corey.
Hello. Yes, you could assume we're in for a hot day pretty much right across the province. There is an orange level heat warning in effect for southern Manitoba right now. In Winnipeg, it's 26, heading for a high today of 35. With the humidex, could it feel more like 45 degrees today, and that's the case for much of southern Manitoba. As you head up north to the Flin Flon region, you just have a yellow heat warning, which still means a very hot day ahead with highs around 30 or so. And that yellow heat warning is in effect for the areas like the Pas as well, Norway House, Island Lake. So drink lots and lots of water. And as you get further up north to Thompson, it's still going to be warm, kind of more in the 20s area, but not nearly as hot. So high 20s in the Thompson and northern Manitoba area this morning. As for your commute, pretty quiet overall so far. Haven't heard of any major issues, but if you're walking, you're biking, you're driving, you see something, you can give me a call on the CBC commuter line. That number to call, 204-788-3093.
Thank you very much, Corey.
Thank you.
That is show director Corey Funk. Well, it is time to say hello to Crystalie Ramlaken at the CBC Business Desk. She's here with a business report. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Chloe.
So how are oil prices reacting after the U.S. carried out airstrikes and Iran retaliated over the weekend?
Well, oil prices have jumped and Asian shares are mostly lower right now. And the prices of Brent crude, the international benchmark, and WTI, the North American benchmark, are up more than 3%. West Texas Intermediate is more than $73 US a barrel right now. And this latest outbreak of fighting stems from conflicting US and Iranian interpretations of how the Strait of Hormuz was supposed to reopen under an interim peace deal they signed on June 17th. So the strait is one of the most important trade routes for global energy supplies, and about 20% of the world's oil supply usually travels through it when it is open and operating. Now, transits had picked up after Washington and Tehran signed an interim deal, but it appears shipping traffic has drastically slowed in the wake of these fresh strikes over the weekend. Now, countries have been drawing down on stockpiles consistently since late February when the war and then eventually the energy crisis began. And Russia is now cutting off diesel exports to the international market. And experts say those factors could drive oil prices significantly higher.
Next, the operator for the Keystone pipeline system has agreed to pay millions over a major oil spill. What are the details on that?
Well, a proposed settlement with the U.S. government would require Canada-based South Bow to pay a penalty of nearly $27 million over a major oil spill in Kansas in December of 2022. So South Bow also would spend about $40 million to prevent future accidents. And the agreement would resolve allegations that South Bow violated U.S. and Kansas clean water laws in operating the pipeline. So the 2022 rupture dumped nearly 13,000 barrels of heavy crude oil into a creek in Washington County, northwest of Kansas City. And the accident was the largest onshore crude pipeline spill in the U.S. in 9 years. And the total amount of oil spilled would have nearly filled an Olympic-sized swimming pool. Now, a judge would still have to approve the proposed deal after a 30-day public comment period, so it's not quite a done deal yet. And the company that built the pipeline, TC Energy, spun off South Bow as a separate firm in 2024 after the Kansas cleanup was done. Now, no pipeline workers or area residents were injured in the spill, and officials said public water supplies were not affected. However, a complaint filed on Friday by the U.S. government along with this proposed settlement said more than 2,700 animals were harmed or killed, and that the area is also home to an endangered species, the long-eared bat.
Lastly, Crystalie, I don't know about you, but I know a lot of Manitobans were looking for activities to do this weekend inside in the air conditioning, which meant a lot of people probably went to the movies over the weekend to escape that heat. How did the box office do?
Well, Disney's live-action Moana crashed with an underwhelming debut. Now, it may have been the top movie at the box office, but it didn't really make a big splash in its first weekend. So studio estimates show the film earned $43 million here in Canada and the U.S. Internationally, it earned $52 million for a total of $95 million, which might seem, like a good chunk of change. But the movie reportedly cost $250 million to produce. So it does have a ways there to go before it's going to earn back the money that has been spent. And Disney's live action remakes have had mixed success, and competition from other family films may have impacted Moana's performance. So there are currently 3 PG rated movies in the top 5 films at the theaters right now, including Minions and Monsters and Toy Story 5.
Oh, those Minions. People love them.
They really do. They're such weird little characters, but people really seem to be attracted to them.
Crystalie, thank you so much.
All right, thanks, Chloe.
That was Crystalie Ramlakan with the business news. Well, Winnipeg's Don Amaro takes over the Lyric Theatre for an evening show on July 26th in the open air with his engaging fusion of country and pop music. Take a listen. Don Amaro with Break the Glass.
Never seem to listen to the ground beneath their feet, to the voices in the oceans, to the whispers in the trees. Now the water's rising, it's getting hard to breathe. It's not my problem, till it's breaking over me. Time's up, break the glass. I hear the wall of the dam just cracked. Put your heart in the burlap sack. You better be ready, ready when the flood comes back. Walls are not the answer when the bottom's caving in. This tide won't stop coming. It's gonna be sink or swim. Ooh, waist deep in the water. There ain't no higher ground. Ooh, Lord, if we're still worth it, have mercy on us now. Time's up, break the glass. I hear the wall of the dam just cracked. Put your heart in the burlap sack. You better be ready, ready when the flood comes. Time's up, break the glass. I hear the wall of the dam just cracked. It's a little too late to get your life on track. You better be ready, ready when the flood comes back. Just cracked. Put your heart in the burlap sack. You better be ready. Time's up, break the glass. I hear the wall of the dam just cracked. It's a little too late to get your life on track. You better be ready, ready when the flood comes. Time's up, break the glass. I hear the wall of the dam just cracked. Put your heart in the burlap sack. You better be ready, ready when the flood comes. Time's up, break the glass. I hear the wall of the dam just cracked. It's a little too late to get your life on track. You better be ready, ready when the flood comes back.
Don Amaro with Break the Glass. Well, as you've been hearing in the news, a street festival in Toronto was derailed by violence this weekend. 2 people are dead and 4 are in hospital with gunshot wounds after a shooting at the city's Salsa on St. Clair festival. Police say about 13,000 people were attending the event on Saturday evening when gunfire broke out, and investigators believe at least 2 people exchanged fire while moving through the crowd. No arrests have yet been made. Laura Hull is a Radio-Canada journalist who was eyewitness to the shooting. She spoke with CBC about the chaotic scene as festival goers ran for cover, and a warning, her story may be graphic for some listeners.
All of a sudden people just start running north, south, east, west, just trying to get away from whatever has happened. I had never really understood how people could get trampled, how another human being could just run over someone else. But last night, I understood. I was able to understand just how sheer panic, chaos, confusion can really just drive someone to just run. I mean, it's your instinct to run and try to get away from whatever danger there is. I lose sight of my friend. She runs ahead of me. Another woman pushes me to the side. I fall into a bag of trash. And just there's screaming everywhere. That's all I can see is people running and screaming. I get up and I think my journalistic instinct kicks in and I start shooting B-roll. I don't know if that's the best survival instinct, but yeah, it was like night and day, just how people were enjoying it, and all of a sudden the scene just shifted entirely. I was also confused because my friend's friend had said that there was a shooting, but I was confused because I figured I would have heard a gunshot. I know what a gun sounds like. And then that moment, maybe 20 minutes later, when people started disappearing, I didn't hear anything either. So it was frustrating not knowing what was actually going on. Some people were lingering around being like, oh, this is not a big deal. Other people were sobbing, being like, I saw someone get shot in the face. So it was difficult to try to put together the pieces of what had happened. But as the night went on, and it became more and more clear that something horrifying had just happened. I moved here 5 years ago. One thing that I've learned is that Toronto is a resilient city. The people who here are resilient, and we won't let this shake us. I mean, Sault Ste. St. Clair, the day, it was beautiful. It was people experiencing good food, good music, dancing together. That is what Toronto's about. I don't think, as horrifying as this is, we cannot let something like this dim our joy, dim just the joy of being together, of coming together as a community and celebrating each other and celebrating the cultures. Should there be more security? Should there be kind of stricter way in ins and outs to these kinds of festivals? I don't know. But I definitely want to continue to celebrate, the beauty that we have here in the city.
Laura Hull is a Radio Canada journalist who was at Toronto's Salsa on St. Clair Festival when a shooting occurred on Saturday. The remainder of the festival was cancelled as police continue what they say is a, quote, complex investigation.
Manitoba may have a reputation for being cold and flat, but our podcast isn't. I'm Marcy Marcusa, the warmest host on the prairies. Even when my podcast, This is Manitoba, is exploring some challenging issues. I'm never flat when it comes to holding our leaders to account. Some of those interviews have been called spicy. If you care about this province, check out This is Manitoba, with new episodes dropping every Wednesday.
Well, it was a very hot weekend. We heard CBC's Heather Wells earlier talk about records that have been broken. I'm sure we will hear those numbers again. But just a reminder that heat has not let up. It is still very warm out there. A reminder there is an orange level heat warning for much of southern Manitoba. This includes Winnipeg, Steinbach, Portage, Morden, Brandon, Verdun, Dauphin, Minnedosa, just much of the south here. And then as well, in the north around the Pas, Flin Flon, Island Lake, there is a yellow level heat warning, so keep that in mind. As well, yellow level heat warning in areas like Bassett, Swan River, Barons River, Poplar River, and Grand Rapids. So make sure you are taking care of yourself and keeping cool. Coming up next on Information Radio, after a weekend of tough matches, 4 teams now head into the World Cup semi-finals. On Tuesday, France squares off against Spain and Dallas. Then on Wednesday, defending champion Argentina shows down against England in Atlanta. For a closer look at the battles ahead for a spot in that coveted final, we've reached Ed Kleiman. He's a freelance sports reporter and he joins us from Kingston, Ontario. Good morning, Ed.
Good morning, Chloe.
Okay, France, Spain, England, Argentina. Are you surprised at all by the Final Four?
Well, let me answer it this way. Who are the top 4 teams based on world rankings coming into this tournament? France, England, Spain, Argentina. We've got them. The top 4 teams are here at the end. So in that sense, I guess you can't say we'd be surprised. But what I can say is I'm surprised at least in the case of England and Argentina, how they got here. Because while France has been utterly dominant, and that has not been a surprise, and Spain have looked really, really good, that's not a surprise. England and Argentina have taken the scenic route. They have had twists and turns and drama and all kinds of crazy things happen. So to get here, wow, it's been a journey for those 2 teams. Not a surprise that they're here, but it is a surprise at how difficult it was for them to get here.
And a point of contention from some critics is that FIFA is just too predictable and that it favors a handful of those top teams. What do you think?
I think when it comes to favoring those top 4 teams, the criticism is spot on because FIFA did something different this time around. You know, when they start off this whole process, it goes back to December when they put all the countries in pots, but they do it based on their rankings so that you have competitive balance within the group stages. But once those group stages have been done, historically, you just play it out. And if 2 top teams have to meet a little bit earlier in the knockout rounds, so be it. But this time, they created kind of a semi-seeding system so that for these top 4 teams, and only these top 4 teams, they could not face each other until the semifinals. But that created some distortions. So if I'm sitting in the Netherlands right now, I'd be really upset because that team is ranked number 7 in the world. And who did they have to play in the round of 32? The number 8 ranked team, Morocco. So if you're going to do seedings, you got to make it fair all the way throughout. This seems totally disproportionately in favor of the big 4, France, England, Spain, Argentina.
All right, but still, a lot of the recent matchups have been tight. There's been extra time, not many easy wins. What does that say about the caliber of football we're watching?
Yeah, it's definitely got things pointed in the right direction. This has been a great tournament to show us just how good the sport can be and what can happen when, despite the fact that these top teams are here and they're really, really good, we're seeing the gap narrow to all the other teams. So often it would be the big teams would run roughshod over the small little countries. But look what happened this time. Cape Verde, less than 500,000 people, they not only got out of the group stage, they gave Argentina all Argentina could handle, almost upsetting them. That was just absolutely wild. And look, I can list off a whole other list of other countries, including Canada, that have become way, way more competitive. We're seeing more goals, more offense, the skill level going up. It's all a good news story for the sport globally.
Ed, what moments from the quarterfinals are still running through your mind?
There have been some goals that I still have playing in mind. Julian Alvarez for Argentina had absolute beauty. But this being a FIFA World Cup, that means we've got to have FIFA controversies. And the one that is in my mind right now that I just can't stop thinking about comes from the England-Norway game on Saturday. There was a goal kick late in the first half by the Norwegian keeper. It hits a wire that's holding up a camera for television, drops straight down, basically gives England a chance to set up a goal that they score. The Norwegians were absolutely apoplectic, and I could not blame them because that should have been blown dead right away, but referee says he didn't see it. The video review people say they didn't see it, and FIFA comes out and says, well, we've got a chip inside the ball to detect any contact, and it gave us nothing to indicate there was contact, and yet from the broadcaster video, we can see it happened, and if I'm a Norwegian fan, wow, would I be upset right now.
I'm upset right now just hearing about it. I didn't even watch the game, Ed. Let's talk about Team Canada. We can't really let this go. It was such a good run. Even non-diehard fans got really behind them, but they're out. For those who don't follow the sport, Ed, perhaps like me, why should I still pay attention here?
Yeah, so first of all, the rest of the world is paying attention. There's going to be hundreds and hundreds of millions of people from countries that are not among those Final Four who want to see this play out because these 4 teams, they're just loaded with talent. We're going to get best on best, great rivalries here. This is really good stuff. Think of it this way. For all the hockey fans out there, big Jets fans, let's say it's in a year where the Jets make the playoffs and they go out in the first round, and you're like, I don't want to watch the rest of the Stanley Cup playoffs, and I'm going to go away from it. And a lot of people do. And a lot of people stay away, but not everyone. A lot of people then come back for the tail end of it because if you've got 4 good teams in the semis or 2 really good teams in the finals, you still want to see them battle it out. And in this case, for this sport, I mean, this is as good as it gets. And anyone who finds sports in any way interesting, this is must-watch stuff.
In your view, Ed, who's making it to the final pairing?
France has been so good. They've been absolutely, electric. And it would be a huge surprise, as good as Spain is, and they're the toughest team, I think, to test them. I just can't see France not being there. England, Argentina, I don't know. I mean, this thing, get out a coin and flip it. I think I would hope that there'd be some great drama here. This thing may be going to penalty kicks. These 2 teams have a great rivalry. Look, if France is in there and we get France-Argentina, that is a rematch of the classic final we had last time. If it's England-France, I mean, talk about a rivalry in every sense of the word. That's totally natural between those two. So we can't go wrong. I think there's really, really good stuff yet to come.
Oh, so much to look forward to, Ed. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Chloe.
That was sports reporter Ed Kleiman. It's time now to turn to CBC's Heather Wells with a look at news headlines.
Good morning. Well, all eyes are on the Assiniboine River in Brandon. It could crest as early as today. Mayor Jeff Fawcett says levels have risen nearly 2.5 meters or 8 feet in just the last few days. All that heavy rain that flooded the parkland is now funneling towards Brandon. And how steamy was it yesterday? McCreary set a new record and was the hottest spot in Manitoba at 36.7. In all, 7 new records were set yesterday, while 4 locations tied previous records, and we do have heat warnings continuing through today for much of Manitoba. I'll be back with more Manitoba news at 7:30.
Thank you very much, Heather.
Thank you.
That is CBC's Heather Wells. I'm Chloe Friesen. You're listening to Information Radio. Of course, if you see anything out there on the roads during your commute that you think your fellow commuters need to know about, give us a call, 204-788-3093. Still to come on the show, the Nakba exhibit from the Canadian Museum for Human Rights has raised concerns from different groups and praise from others. In Sweden, they opened a similar exhibit, and we'll hear how their community has managed to move forward as one. As well, sponge parks might have a fun name, but they could be a serious benefit when it comes to preventing floods during heavy rainfall. Coming up, we will speak to an expert who feels they might just be what cities like Winnipeg need. For those stories and more, stay with us. World Report is next.
I'm Pia Chattopadhyay.
We're very forward-leaning on defense spending.
Canada is making historic investments in its defense strategy. The Prime Minister says they're the key to Canada's sovereignty. But in that big military spending, are we buying the right stuff? That's coming up on The Current.
The Current, this morning at 8:37, 9:07 in Newfoundland, and on the CBC Listen app.
This is World Report. Good morning. I'm Marcia Young. At least 27 people are dead after a fire at a Bangkok bar. More than 25 people were seriously injured. Investigators are trying to find out how it started and are looking into possible negligence. As Laura Westbrook reports from Hong Kong, there are questions about emergency exits being obstructed.
Forensic investigators are combing through the blackened entrance of the Rongbir Nat Lap Prao bar in Bangkok. Firefighters were called to the scene just after midnight on Monday. Footage showed flames blasting out of the entrance of the bar in the popular Chatuchak district as patrons fled through the front door of the venue. Firefighters were reportedly able to bring the flames under control in about half an hour. Eyewitnesses reported that the fire started near the bar's stage and quickly spread. Thailand's Prime Minister Anutin Charnvirakul visited the site.
As far as we know, from what we asked the musicians who were at the scene, they said there was smoke coming out from the cutout near the stage, and then the lights suddenly went out, and there was a blasting sound.
Some victims were forced to shelter from the flames after being unable to reach the fire exits.
Most of the victims ran to the back of the building, into the bathroom, and there was no clear sign of a fire exit.
Preliminary investigations suggest the fire could have been caused by an electrical short circuit in an air conditioner, but no cause has yet been given. As the probe gets underway, questions are being asked about why the fire spread so quickly and why people were unable to get out. Laura Westbrook for CBC News, Hong Kong.
The diplomatic framework between the U.S. and Iran is being further tested. A cycle of strikes and counterstrikes has erupted across the Gulf. Locations in Jordan and Oman were struck by Iranian missiles. As Crystal Gomansing reports, the region is bracing for escalation.
The Memorandum of Understanding is on life support.
Ali Vayez, Iran project director at the crisis group think tank, says if things continue on the current path, an escalation is not far off.
This could go wrong in so many ways, and tensions could spiral out of control very quickly. And I'm afraid the next round is likely to be much sharper, even if shorter.
An American bombardment Sunday hit multiple Iranian targets after Iran attacked a ship in the Strait of Hormuz. This morning, Jordanian officials said its military intercepted 4 missiles. For the most part, it has avoided incoming threats from Iran, despite hosting a U.S. airbase. Oman was also targeted. Iranian state TV broadcast statements from the Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps saying it destroyed fuel storage tanks, Patriot air defense systems, and radar units across the Gulf. The U.S. agency CENTCOM has not said what, if anything, was hit. In a brief telephone interview on Sunday with the Reuters news agency, U.S. President Donald Trump said we're beating them up, referring to the strikes this past weekend. Trump said he considers the ceasefire over while leaving the door open to further talks. Crystal Gomansing, CBC News, London.
Health officials in the Democratic Republic of Congo say the number of deaths in the Ebola outbreak has passed 700. More than 1,900 cases are confirmed. Officials say infections from the virus have spread to 2 new provinces. The rare strain of Ebola has now been detected in 5 provinces in the east of DRC. Toronto police are still searching for suspects after 2 people were killed at a weekend festival. Several other people were injured when a gunfight broke out during Salsa on St. Clair on Saturday. The CBC's Philip Lee Shannock has the latest.
This community works so hard. I don't think it's a reflection of the area.
Jennifer Goulet says residents are still processing a reckless act of violence at a crowded festival. But she says the community that hosts Canada's largest celebration of Latino music and culture is resilient.
I think it is likely some kind of isolated incident. The community here is so fortified. Everybody works so hard to support one another.
Toronto police say 2 men began firing at each other while in a crowd of 13,000 people. Restaurant owner Harsh Chawla says he sheltered as many as he could.
And the patio was full of customers, so we all ducked. We brought everybody in the restaurant. We made sure everybody was safe.
Bernardo Cisternas, who lives in the area, says people need to be reassured that the many summer festivals in the city are safe.
I think it's for the city to respond in a very loud way and take back control of what we used to be, which was a safe city, a clean city.
Deputy Chief Frank Barato says despite the shooting, the city is safe.
We are 3 million people, and unfortunately we are not completely immune to some of the things that happen globally, quite frankly. But Toronto is an extremely safe city.
He says 2 guns were found at the scene, and investigators have lots of witnesses and video evidence. No arrests have been made. Philip Shannock, CBC News, Toronto.
Trade relations between Canada and the U.S. remain strictly on the rocks. A multi-million-dollar backlog of banned U.S. alcohol adding fuel to the fire. The rest of the country has found ways to offload their banned U.S. booze. Ontario has not. The province is holding on to roughly $80 million in booze stockpile. As Colin Butler reports, the situation is increasingly irritating U.S. diplomats.
I haven't seen anyone talk about what's going to happen with that inventory.
That's Marvin Ryder, a marketing professor at McMaster University. Ontario's Liquor Board says it spent $8 million storing the stranded American inventory. 97% is still within its normal shelf life and 3% expired.
Chaos. Absolute chaos.
Stacey Kyle is the executive director of British Columbia's Import Vintners and Spirits Association. She says warehouses are built around predictable inventory, not millions of dollars worth of returned alcohol arriving all at once. British Columbia found a way to move or sell off at least some of its existing American inventory. Ontario has not. U.S. Ambassador Pete Hoekstra even ended his recent 4th of July speech with a wish.
Next year, hopefully we can all take a toast of American bourbon legally in the province of Ontario.
Colin Butler, CBC News, London, Ontario.
They're the size of a poppy seed or sesame seed, but they can cause severe illness. Ticks are becoming a growing problem across Canada. And while many people are familiar with Lyme disease, another tick-borne illness is also making Canadians sick. Tashana Reid has the details.
Really thirsty. I was headachy. My body ached. I had pains in my stomach.
In 2021, when Alice Hinther came down with severe flu-like symptoms, she assumed she had COVID. When her condition got worse, she went to hospital in Kingston, Ontario. But tests for COVID and Lyme disease were negative. Doctors were puzzled.
He said, "We don't know what's wrong with you, but all your vitals are failing."
Then she was tested for another tick-borne illness, anaplasmosis. It was positive. A new case study in the Canadian Medical Association Journal is raising awareness to how serious it can be. Dr. Michael Kwan at the Ottawa Hospital is a co-author.
Infection and inflammation in organs such as the brain, lungs, heart, or low blood cell count.
Anaplasmosis is transmitted by the black-legged tick, the same tick that transmits Lyme disease, and its presence is growing. Curtis Russell is with Public Health Ontario.
2024, we had about 162 cases, and in 2025, we had about 315 cases.
Nova Scotia, Manitoba, and Quebec are also seeing more cases. Experts say if you're enjoying the outdoors, wear long-sleeved, light-colored clothing, use insect repellent, and most importantly, do a tick check.
Check around your hairline, your armpits, your groin area, the back of your legs. Look to see if there's any ticks crawling.
Alice Hinther was treated with antibiotics and made a full recovery.
Just be aware of symptoms. Don't ignore them.
The experience hasn't stopped her from enjoying the outdoors. Tashana Reid, CBC News, Toronto.
Madonna is making history. This is her new song, I Feel So Free. It is from Madonna's new hit album, Confessions 2. It's jumped to #1 on the Billboard 200 charts. She is the first artist in history to have #1 albums in 4 different decades. It's also her first album of the 2020s. Madonna is now just the 4th artist to earn at least 10 #1 albums on the Billboard 200 chart. She's also one of 4 artists with 10 #1 songs on the Billboard Hot 100. She joins the Beatles, Taylor Swift, and Drake. That is the latest national and international news from World Report. I'm Marcia Young.
Good morning, Manitoba. I'm Chloe Friesen, filling in for Marcy Marcusa. You're listening to Information Radio on CBC Radio 1. 89.3 FM, 990 AM on our YouTube live stream or anywhere on your CBC News app. Thank you for joining us. Coming up on the show, sponge parks may have a fun name, but they could be a serious benefit when it comes to preventing floods during heavy rainfall. Coming up, we will speak to an expert who feels they might just be what cities like Winnipeg need. Also, the St. James Assiniboia Pioneer Association unveiled their plans to save Grant's Old Mill over the weekend. We will hear more about the future of the historic St. James landmark. And the Nakba exhibit from the Canadian Museum for Human Rights has raised concerns from some groups and praise from others. In Sweden, they opened a similar exhibit. We'll hear how their community has managed to move forward. It's time now for news headlines with CBC's Heather Wells. Good morning.
Good morning, and get set to sweat it out all over again. Heat warnings continue today for parts of the north, the Interlake, and eastern Manitoba, and those are yellow warnings. Southern Manitoba, including Winnipeg and Brandon, are under orange level heat warnings today. Temperatures expected again to be in the mid-30s, with the humidex in the mid-40s. Yesterday, McCreary set a new record and was the hottest spot in Manitoba at 36.7 degrees. In all, 7 new records were set, while 4 locations tied previous records. Thousands of people living near the Assiniboine River in Brandon have been warned to have their go bags ready in case flooding forces them out. The river is expected to crest today and remain at peak levels for a period of time. As of yesterday, evacuation orders had not yet been issued in Brandon. The mayor says flood protection measures are in place. We'll hear more from him coming up in our next local news at 7:30.
All right. Thank you very much, Heather.
Thank you.
That is CBC's Heather Wells. Well, hello and good morning to the Information Radio team. Darren Morash is our YouTube live stream producer. Abby Adiemi is our technical producer. Corey Funk here, keeping an eye on both the weather and the commute. But Corey, I got to ask, what was your strategy to keep cool this weekend? How did you go about that?
The move was all the splash pads.
Ooh.
We just hit up splash pads hard. I've got a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. So we just went to the splash pads and let them just go hog wild.
Just did a little tour.
And then we actually don't have air conditioning. And
Okay.
it's way too hot in our house. So we actually went and slept in some friends' basements.
Sleepover?
We did a little sleepover. Every night we slept in a different friend's basement. So it's kind of fun actually, catch up with friends and sleep over at their place. The kids loved it. So
Oh, that's fun.
can't complain. So it was a nice way to excuse to get out of the house and sleep in a basement. So.
Exactly.
What about you? How do you keep cool?
You know what? I just didn't go outside.
Oh, yeah.
I am lucky. We do have air conditioning, so I just stayed indoors. At one point, I did have to get something from the attic, and that was torturous. And so I said, I'm not going to do that again, and then just stayed inside and tried to eat things from the fridge and not turn on the oven.
Yeah.
That was the strategy.
That's the key. It was like a blow dryer out there. And actually today it's going to continue to feel like a blow dryer out there. So it's 26 right now already in Winnipeg, heading for a high of 35. With that humidex more like 45. So just another hot day ahead. That's the case for much southern Manitoba, as you heard from Heather. Central Manitoba, similar case as well. It's a yellow warning, so it's more like low 30s, so still very hot weather out there. And then as you get up north to Thompson, it's actually quite cool. It's 19 right now in Thompson. There's even a chance of a thunderstorm today. It's going to be high 20s, more so in that area. But looking to your commute as well right now, still washouts on some highways in the Parkland region. So just check Manitoba 511 before you hit the highways there. And if you see something here in the city, do let me know what you're seeing out there. That number to call, 204-788-3093.
The Nakba exhibit at the Canadian Museum for Human Rights has stirred up a national debate. It opened up only a few weeks ago in Winnipeg. Some heavily support it, while others think it wasn't developed properly. Nakba is the Arabic word, meaning catastrophe, and it refers to the displacement of approximately 750,000 Palestinians during the creation of Israel. We wondered if there were any other publicly funded museums in the world that have displayed a Nakba exhibit. Sophia Hagman is a curator at the National Museums of World Culture in Stockholm, Sweden. She curated the Nakba exhibit at the Mediterranean Museum, which was on display from 2024 to 2025. The exhibit was made up of oral testimonies of Nakba survivors, as well as a range of archival images and artifacts belonging to Nakba survivors. CBC's Nadia Kidwai spoke to her at length on the Weekend Morning Show. Here's part of that conversation.
Sophia, why was it important for your museum to highlight testimonies of Nakba survivors?
Well, we're originally a historical or archaeological museum, and we show the history and cultures of the Mediterranean region and the Middle East. And we also try, being originally at a historical museum, we tried to show also the historical backgrounds of current events, those contextualize things that are happening now in our society. And in 2023, we hadn't shown anything from Palestine in more than a decade. And it was also 75 years since the beginning of the Nakba. So this event was being commemorated in Sweden also. I had met Bernd Hermele, the journalist, earlier in 2023, who had interviewed Nakba survivors, and he showed me his material, the photographs, the interview, the portraits, and I sort of saw a core of an exhibition there. For practical reasons, we needed to change the room and repaint and all those production reasons. It was postponed until the fall of 2023 and then even into the spring of 2024.
You mentioned Bernd Hermele, and we'll be actually having him on the show later on this hour so we can talk to him more about his experience. The timing is interesting, right? So originally it was planned for the spring of 2023 and then later rescheduled to I mean, that year was the year that October 7th happened, obviously, the Hamas attacks on Israel. Did that in any way cause you to think twice?
Oh, yes. I mean, we thought twice and we thought 3 times, because many other exhibitions, cultural events relating to Palestine were cancelled in the wake of the October 7th atrocities. But we also thought about, well, if we don't do it now, when would we do it? Are these stories, these people's memories and their experiences, are they less relevant in the fall of 2023 than they had been in the spring? And also, these stories they were shared by people who were born in the 1930s, 1940s, and they are not going to be around forever. So in the end, we decided we will not cancel, we will open as planned.
So you open. What was the public reaction?
Well, the public reaction was very positive. It was very welcoming. We had a lovely opening event. It was very warm. Hundreds of people attended. And given this was a very, very small exhibition, we had many visitors. But then, of course, there were also groups that expressed their concern. We had the Central Council of Jewish Communities in Sweden, who sent us a long letter of concern that they also published on their webpage. It was not as much about the content of the exhibit as about the timing. Why did we open it now after October 7th? And they felt or interpreted it as we were sort of taking sides in an ongoing armed conflict. And then there were also members of parliament. I think it was one member of a right-wing party that also brought up the question publicly in parliament, directed to the Minister of Culture, claiming that we were engaging in political activism at a public museum. And this was surely not the intention of the government. I mean, since we get our mandate from the government. But neither he or the members of the Council of Jewish Communities had actually seen the exhibition by then. So their reaction was on the press release, on our communication when we advertised the exhibition.
One of the major criticisms that the Canadian Museum for Human Rights received from some members of the Jewish community was that they didn't include any mention of Jews being expelled from Arab countries at the time of Israel's creation. Did you receive that particular criticism?
It was mentioned. I think the main criticism we received was the timing. It was brought up by some members of the community that we didn't balance it with the expulsion of Jews from Arab countries. But we happened to open also an exhibition about the Jews of Egypt shortly after the opening of the Nakba exhibit, and then run parallel for a year. So that story was also told about the displacement of the Jewish minority from Egypt in the 1950s and 60s.
And was that separate exhibit produced as a result of this criticism, or had you planned it all along?
No, the exhibit had been planned. I'd been working on it for 4 years, the Jews of Egypt, and it was part of our Egyptian galleries. So it wasn't a response.
The other major criticism that the Canadian Museum for Human Rights received was that they didn't consult the Jewish community prior to the exhibit. Did your museum consult Sweden's Jewish community as you created this Nakba exhibit?
The content was created by Bernd Hermele, who is a member of the Jewish community. And we also have, staff that are a member of the Jewish community. So we didn't officially inform the Jewish community, but at the same time, we were working closely with them in other questions, such as the exhibit about the Jews of Egypt. It wasn't developed in a vacuum or kept secret from the Jewish community. They were involved.
So I would love to get your perspective on this as a curator from a museum about this idea of consulting groups in general for exhibits. Is it necessary for all exhibits to consult groups? And if so, how do you decide which group to consult about what?
I guess it depends also on the exhibition and what kind of an exhibition it is. We very, very often co-produce or co-create exhibitions with communities. And then, of course, it's the community whose heritage we display or whose stories we tell, because we want their information, we want their knowledge, we want to do it together with them, we want to be able to share their stories. It's difficult to say that you should always work with a community or inform a community. It very much depends on the exhibition. And in the Nakba exhibition, it was natural to work with the Palestinian community since we borrowed objects and used their stories and their memories for the exhibition.
So in the Nakba exhibit, would you as a curator think it would be necessary to consult Jewish communities for a Nakba exhibit?
Not necessarily. It was, I know, and it comes a bit with that criticism that should we balance it with more information about the history of the Jews? But I think this was an exhibition with personal stories. There's not really that much else to work about. There's nothing that can be added. The stories belong to the people who tell them. I mean, of course, we fact check events that are mentioned or atrocities that happen, but in the end, the stories are personal memories. So I don't think we need to inform anybody else than the stories actually.
You mentioned right at the beginning that there was a politician who kind of spoke up and criticized the museum, who is getting funded by the Swedish government, for being political, I think, paraphrasing what you quoted him as saying. Do you worry that creating an exhibit on a subject as divisive as the Nakba is further polarizing our societies, or that a museum is getting political, especially when it's publicly funded?
No, on the contrary, I think in order to somehow be able to coexist peacefully, we need to listen to each other's stories and memories and experiences. We need to share our own experience, and there need to be places and spaces where we can do this. And I think museums can be those safe places where we can learn from each other and see each other. I think that's important, because we invited the Jewish Council to see the exhibit and to a dialogue. So we met and we talked, and they expressed their concerns, and we explained how we worked and what our mandate is. And also after that letter of concern from the Jewish Council, we received many letters from other Jewish groups who supported the exhibition and just wanted us to know that they didn't feel that the opinion of the council reflected their opinion or their view of the exhibit. So we also got support from all parts of society. I think that was important to us.
When you gave the tour to the Jewish Council of the Nakba exhibit, once they finally saw it, what was their reaction?
That it was smaller than they had imagined.
That was it? Anything else?
That was it. No, I think they had imagined something different because of the attention it got initially. And I think also, we also have to respect their concern and the fear that many members of the Jewish community felt in the wake of the October 7th. And I think also that they had pictured it as something bigger, something larger, something that it wasn't. Now it was just this small room with these personal stories told by men and women who had survived the Nakba. I don't think that's what they had imagined it to be.
That was part of an interview with the CBC's Nadia Kidwai and Swedish Museum curator Sofia Hagman on the Weekend Morning Show. Sofia created the Nakba exhibit in Stockholm, and to see the full interview, you can visit CBC Manitoba's YouTube page. And tomorrow on Information Radio, we will hear from the journalist who contributed to the creation of the Nakba exhibit in Stockholm.
Manitoba may have a reputation for being cold and flat, but our podcast isn't. I'm Marcy Marcusa, the warmest host on the prairies. Even when my podcast, This is Manitoba, is exploring some challenging issues. I'm never flat when it comes to holding our leaders to account. Some of those interviews have been called spicy. If you care about this province, check out This is Manitoba, with new episodes dropping every Wednesday.
Well, 7:25 is the time. You're listening to Information Radio on CBC Radio 1. And I am now joined by Scott Reguer with a look at sports news. Good morning, Scott.
Hey, Chloe.
So it's a World Cup semifinal lineup like we've never seen before. Your thoughts on the tournament's Final Four?
Well, it's historic. The remaining teams, Chloe, are all past World Cup champions. They boast 5 of the top 6 scorers this summer, including the greatest of them all. And there is the intensity of the rivalries. As aesthetically pleasing as Spain and France are to watch, they're also both ruthless. Neither of them has lost a competitive match in more than a year, and the last time it happened was when they played each other, with La Roja outscoring Les Bleus 5-4. Then there is England versus Argentina. Now, the Falkland Islands conflict means tensions between the countries have long gone beyond the pitch. But on it, they've been pretty tense too.
Wait a minute, he's taking another card out for Beckham. It's a red card for David Beckham. Oh, no.
That is the sound of David Beckham getting sent off against Argentina at the '98 World Cup after Diego Simeone acted like he'd been shot after only the slightest bit of contact. Minus Becks, England were ousted from that tournament, although he did get revenge at the next one, eliminating Argentina when he scored on a penalty kick. I haven't even mentioned Diego Maradona's hand of God goal yet. So one way or another, Chloe, it's going to be a riveting couple of days for the Tuesday and Wednesday semifinals.
Despite all of the excitement, there continues, though, to be criticism around the unprecedented use of technology at this World Cup. What do you make of it?
Well, at times, I think it's come close to ruining the tournament. I'd like to say my lasting memory, Chloe, of Norway bowing out to England was of Harry Kane outdueling Erling Haaland, but instead it's of questionable technology. In the build-up to a goal by England's Jude Bellingham, the ball hit a cable that suspends overhead cameras. Play should have been stopped. FIFA's response, well, it says the computer chip inside the ball showed, quote, no peak in the heartbeat of the ball, and therefore there's no evidence it touched an overhead wire, end quote. Well, Norwegian coach Ståle Solbakken disagrees.
The ball drops down straight from heaven, and many on the bench reacted immediately, including Ørjan, who is the goalie, including the guy who's going to receive the ball. I think it's pretty clear that it did, and yeah, it was a strange thing.
It's far from the only strange thing we've seen as a result of all the advanced technology. Croatia, remember, was eliminated by Portugal after the ball, which captures data at 500 times a second, detected an offside, even though that offside was not visible to the naked eye or indeed on slow-motion TV replays. So I won't even get into the controversies around video assistant referees and how overused VAR has been at this tournament. But one way or another, Chloe, technology should not be the story.
What has caught your eye outside of the World Cup? Because there are surprisingly more sports than soccer.
That's right. Yeah, Yannick Sinner beating Alex Zverev to claim another Wimbledon title yesterday. In baseball, the Blue Jays ace Dylan Cease is going to be the starter for the American League in tomorrow's All-Star game. And how about in basketball? What a weekend in Montreal, Chloe. Almost 21,000 fans were at the Toronto Tempos game there Friday night, which sets a new WNBA regular season attendance record. There was another big crowd yesterday in Montreal as the Tempo beat New York, after which guard Marina Mabrey shared her thoughts on it all.
We put on a good show again. This was a great game to watch. So I think coming here with a crowd like this is huge for the league. There was Dallas fans in Montreal. That's huge. Fans are traveling, and it's just going to bring in more revenue and more butts and seats, basically. So I'm just happy to see it expanding, especially to another country.
The Tempo will play 2 more regular season games next month in Vancouver as they build their brand around the country. Winnipeg might be a good venue to continue to build said brand. It does help that the Tempo have been so competitive. They've been hovering around 500 all season long. They're looking to become just the second WNBA expansion team to make the playoffs in year 1.
It's my goal to get to one of those games sometime. Seems like such a great atmosphere.
Yeah, there's a reason they're so well attended. That it's a great brand of basketball.
Thank you, Scott.
You bet.
That is CBC's Scott Regehr. Well, still lots to come here on Information Radio, but first it's time for your CBC local news.
This is CBC News. Good morning. I'm Heather Wells in Winnipeg. At 7:30, it's already 26, and we continue to soar much like yesterday. A high of 35. It's going to be sunny and windy, and that humidex, 44 today. Searching for cool places. Manitobans are in for another sweltering day with heat warnings from parts of the north to the south, the west and the east side of the province. Temperatures in the mid-30s expected in many places. A sweltering day in Winnipeg yesterday at 35. The hottest spot in Manitoba, though, was McCreary at 36.7. Environment Canada says 7 new records were set yesterday, while 4 locations tied previous records. The city of Brandon braces for the swollen Assiniboine River to crest as early as today. Heavy rains that flooded the parkland now are funneling into the Brandon area, bringing up levels of the Assiniboine nearly 2.5 meters or 8 feet in recent days. Mayor Jeff Fawcett says the weather cooperated over the weekend and crews are working around the clock to prepare roads and infrastructure. He says officials are also ensuring essential services like the hospital remain open. Fawcett wants to keep Brandon flood-free as much as possible so resources can remain focused on the parkland.
We want to make sure that we get through this so that the province and others can continue to focus on our neighbors that have had some really serious situations.
Now, about 4,000 people in Brandon have received letters telling them to pack up and prepare in case flooding forces them out of their homes. Lana Carnegie lives near the river's southern bank with her dog and cat. She wasn't worried about having to leave until she went on a walk yesterday and saw just how high the water is getting.
After we came back from the walk, I got the pet stuff already by the back door, the kennels and the food and their favorite toys and things like that, just in case we go. And then I'll go up and pack my stuff up, go bag, just to be ready, just in case.
As of yesterday, the city of Brandon had not yet issued an evacuation order. We will hear a flood update from Brandon later this morning. A new measure to help stop crime has launched in Thompson. The northern city now has a crime suppression unit, a group of RCMP officers working to take on downtown crime. Staff Sergeant Dave Michaud says police are called often, and this new team could help address community issues.
We are responding to so many calls for service. So having this unit here to be dedicated to those things and dealing with and working closely with the community safety officers here, I think it'll be incredibly beneficial for the city.
Money to support this unit has come from the City of Thompson, as well as $250,000 from the province, and the RCMP is providing staff. The price of oil is rising as the U.S. and Iran fight for control of the Strait of Hormuz. Brent crude is up almost 5% to just under $80 U.S. a barrel.
در پی تجاوزات بامداد امروز آمریکا به مناطقی در جنوب ایران.
An Iranian newsreader saying Tehran successfully targeted U.S. military facilities in Bahrain and Kuwait. Today's attacks come in response to U.S. strikes on Iranian sites over the weekend. A video released by the U.S. military purporting to show cruise missiles being launched at Iran. Officials say they struck air defense systems, coastal radar, and other military sites. The U.S. and Iran are giving contradictory statements on the status of the Strait of Hormuz. Washington says it's open. Tehran says it has closed that strategic waterway. You can hear the latest national and international news coming up on World Report at 8. Well, making getting around in some communities a little easier. An all-electric car share program called Red River Rides is running in the village of Saint-Pierre-Joly and the municipalities of Richot and de Salaberry. St. Pierre CAO Tina Bubenzer says without access to public transit, people like seniors may not be able to afford a vehicle.
They can rent this vehicle to go to their appointments. A student can use this vehicle instead of their vehicle to make transportation affordable for them to go to university, or maybe don't have a vehicle and can go to university to remove that barrier for them. So newcomers maybe can't afford a new car, things like that.
Bubenzer hopes Red River Rides makes her community more accessible. All three levels of government have provided funding for that program. Well, 6 provinces battled for gold at the Women's Baseball National Championship in Winnipeg this weekend. Team Manitoba scoring a home run there. They finished 5th in the tournament after beating Saskatchewan. More than 100 athletes competed in the event, including Jewel Thompson, a 7-year member of Manitoba's senior team. She says for years it was hard to see herself represented in baseball.
When I started, girls baseball wasn't a thing. I grew up being the only girl on my team. So just being here today and seeing a whole team of girls is honestly very inspiring.
And Thompson hopes the tournament helps the new generation of girls see what's possible for them on the baseball diamond. You can find the latest news updated throughout your day. All you have to do is head to cbc.ca/Manitoba.
And Heather, speaking of women's baseball, there's the Women's Pro Baseball League. It's starting this August. It's in the States, but it still is hopefully going to open many doors for women who play the sport.
And that's an amazing thing. I mean, women can play just as hard, just as well. You know what? I have to tell you, I was watching the Blue Jays yesterday, and women commentators who are so great.
Yes, yeah, I think that was a first for the league this past weekend. So good stuff coming.
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, you're great on the baseball field.
Oh,
yeah.
Heather, stop. I mean, I don't know if we can call it baseball. It's slow pitch, so it's got some funky rules, but we do our best. We don't win often, but we have fun. Most important part of sports. Corey's laughing at me.
What's your stats so far this season, Chloe? Like, what's your runs? What's your
smiles? 10 smiles a game. Those are my stats. All right, thank you, Heather.
Thank you.
That is CBC's Heather Wells. She's so kind to me. Corey, is the weather kind to us at all this week?
No. I'm just going to say no. It's too hot out there. There is an orange level heat warning for much of southern Manitoba today. Just to give you an idea what that means, 26 right now already in Winnipeg, heading for a high today of 35. But with the humidex, it's going to feel more like 45.
No.
I know. Very, very hot out there. It really does feel like living inside a blow dryer. And then as you get up to Brandon, maybe ever so slightly cooler, but still under that orange level warning. You're 23 right now, heading for a high of 33 today. And then Thompson up north, that's where you want to go if you want to get at least some reprieve. You're not under any warning right now. Thompson, you're sitting at 18, heading for a high of 25 today, and even a chance of a bit of a thunderstorm today, about 60% chance of a thunderstorm today. And then in the central Manitoba region as well, that's a yellow heat warning, so slightly less. We're talking about highs around 30 for areas like Flin Flon, the Pas, that area of the province. So still very, very hot right throughout the province today. But as for your commute, been pretty quiet overall. I can tell you if you're hoping to go down the river trail, a lot of it is still underwater. I was there over the weekend, but it's just kind of starting to recede a little bit here in Winnipeg, but that could always change, as we know. But if you do see something else going on, if you're walking, you're biking, you're driving, you see something, you can give me a call on the CBC commuter line. That number, 204-788-3093.
All right. Thank you very much, Corey.
Thank you.
Well, coming up next on Information Radio, plans have been unveiled for the future of Grant's Old Mill in St. James. The historic landmark was permanently closed in April after the city of Winnipeg deemed the structure unsafe. The announcement made on Saturday came amid celebrations on the mill grounds for Cuthbert Grant Day. And for more on the mill's future, I am joined now by St. James Assiniboia Pioneers Association President Tiffany Evans. Good morning, Tiffany.
Good morning, Chloe.
So we last spoke to you in April when the mill first closed. What has happened since then?
So since we last spoke, there's been a lot of buzz and attention around the mill. We've actually started moving forward with our plans to unveil the future of the site, which we did do on Saturday. And of course, we also celebrated our annual Cuthbert Grant Day.
Okay, so Saturday's announcement, what's in store for the future of the mill? What will it look like?
So what's in store is that we're going to do our first phase, which is the restoration of the mill. So that is our primary attention right at the moment. Followed by that, we're looking at constructing a permanent structure of an amphitheater, as well as a Métis Veterans Memorial, as well, finally, then a permanent year-long interpretive building.
Okay, an amphitheater, that's like an outdoor kind of stage seating area?
That's correct.
Okay. Can you remind listeners about the history and significance of the mill and what do you think makes it so worth saving and reviving?
So a lot of people don't know who Cuthbert Grant is. However, he is a very symbolic and important individual to not only the Red River Métis and the Scottish's history within Manitoba, but to everybody. He was one of the very first entrepreneurs. He was a mediator. He was a community leader. He started the agriculture as well as the economy in what we know as St. James, in what we know as Winnipeg, as well as Manitoba. He did build the very first water grist mill, which was west of the Great Lakes. And in turn, the reason for it was because he had great concerns about food insecurity, as well as the cost of having to mill grain for individuals at that time.
How did the old mill get to Winnipeg? Why was it built in St. James?
Well, it was built in St. James along the Sturgeon Creek, just due to the simple fact that it was along the water route. for the trade. In addition to that, there was also the Buffalo Trail, which was very close by because it went through the Robert Browning, over through around Grant's Old Mill Park, and then up into the Living Prairie. And in addition to that, people were starting to move west and settle along within that Red River settlement. So that's that important piece why he decided to, establish the mill there on the Sturgeon Creek, because it had that waterway, right, as well, because you needed that water to be able to turn the wheel. Unfortunately, the mill only did last there for 3 years, just due to our climate, right? Because unfortunately we have drought, sometimes we have ice jumps and so forth.
There's a cost associated with this project, with reviving Grant's Old Mill. And I know that Saturday's festivities were partially a fundraiser as well. First of all, what's the fundraising goal?
So, unfortunately, since we last spoke, I went back and we had to get updated pricing for one of our sponsors. So within a year, it actually went up $250,000 for that restoration of that mill. And so right now we're sitting at $850,000.
Okay.
So to date, we have raised approximately $10,000. So we're still looking at about $840,000 for that. And we are going to be doing other fundraisers throughout the year, as well as we are approaching the various, right now we're working with the federal government and creating proposals for them, as well as looking at other funding areas.
Tiffany, how do you motivate a community to rally behind something like a piece of history in their community that they may not actually have much background on? How do you encourage them to donate to preserve something like this?
Well, everything is around education, right? Coming and enjoying the space. And everybody that we talk to, they have some sort of connection to that park space. In addition to that, like I said, it's all around education. It's all around teachings. It's all around talking about it and really, truly letting the communities know how important this space is to the city of Winnipeg, to the province of Manitoba, and to, everyday citizen. And so I think that is the biggest piece of that motivation is that, when Cuthbert Grant, when he moved the mill, he was establishing roots here. Like many people that come to Winnipeg, that are born in Winnipeg, we establish our own roots. And his story, it slept for a little while, but it didn't disappear. Back in 1974, there was a group of 8 individuals who reawakened that story. And, and now it's coming back to our next generation, and we're not going to allow the story to go to sleep either. We're going to keep it alive and move forward and continue to work with local organizations, with various other community partners that are nonprofit, that are community groups. And together we're banding and we are sharing and celebrating the cultures, as well as educating those around us and allowing others to build those special memories. Now, whether that's through photos, through weddings, through just attending the park and having, picnics together, going through walks, bikes, fishing, tobogganing, whatever that might be. We're attending Cuthbert Grant Day. We're going to help everybody build those memories and work together.
Tiffany, really appreciate your time this morning. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Tiffany Evans is the president of the St. James Assiniboia Pioneer Association.
You know the voices that tell the story of our province. Now you can take them anywhere. From the essential start to your day on information radio to the conversations that define our lunch hour on Radio Noon and the pulse of the city on Up to Speed, your local connection is always within reach. Just open the CBC News app, tap the local drop-down, and hit play. Your favorite voices, your province, right in your pocket. Download the CBC News app today, your daily rhythm, live and local.
The time is 7:45. You're listening to Information Radio on CBC Radio 1. I'm Chloe Friesen. And stay tuned. We're about to hear about sponge parks. They're not what you think if you're envisioning a bunch of sponges in a park. like I do when I hear that phrase, that is incorrect. We're going to get all the details coming up here on the show. But first, Winnipeg singer-songwriter Shay Wolf is set to perform at Old Market Square during the Winnipeg Fringe Festival. You can catch her performance on July 17th, at 6:30 p.m. Here's Shay Wolf with Sunny Days.
Sunny days, sunny days, come find me, sunny days. Sweet honey child, the rain has come and it's poured. Sweet honey child, feels like months of gloom and gray. Sunny days, come find me. Sunny days, sunny days, sunny days, come find me. Oh, sunny days. Sweet honey child, the clouds are slowly parting ways. Sweet honey child, feels like blue skies start today. Sunny days, come find me. Sunny days, sunny days, sunny days, come find me. Sunny days, shine on 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 me. Sunny days, come find me. Sunny days, sunny days, sunny days, come find me. Oh, sunny days.
Shay Wolf with Sunny Days, an appropriate song for today, although with that sun, comes heat. A reminder, orange level heat warning for much of southern Manitoba in place. Well, coming up after 8 o'clock on Information Radio. Meta sold 7 million pairs of smart glasses last year, and leaked documents show they now plan to add facial recognition capability to their product. Would you be comfortable with someone accessing your Facebook profile in the moment they look at you? A conversation about the ethics of tech specs after 8 o'clock. But coming up first, we've been having plenty of conversations about flooding across the province and how communities can prevent floods going forward. Well, when it comes to flooding within city limits, that's often caused by heavy rain and sewer backups. That's what happened on June 15th in Winnipeg. You might recall we had a storm with a ton of rain that hit the North Kildonan neighborhood particularly hard. North Kildonan City Councillor Jeff Brawati spoke to CBC about potential solutions.
Well, in older neighborhoods that have those combined sewers, you put up a brand new apartment block. They do things like having areas that don't drain immediately. There's some on-site storage where the rainwater doesn't immediately hit the sewer. They create green areas that can absorb water. I mean, pavement straight to drain uses up a lot of sewer capacity. Different apartment blocks are being made to do things so that at peak rain events, the water doesn't hit the sewer right away, especially in those areas where we know the sewer capacity is limited.
One of the green solutions being used in another Canadian city is something called a sponge park. Montreal has built a number of them to help with flooding there. And T. Nguyen is an architectural intern at Winnipeg's number 10 architectural group. Her Master of Architecture thesis was all about the idea of creating a sponge park in Winnipeg. It won the 2025 World Architecture Festival Student Charrette and earned her the 2025 Canadian Architect Student Award of Merit. It was titled Sponge by the Forks, and T joins me now over Zoom. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for inviting me over.
Can you take us into a sponge park? What does it look like?
Sponge park is actually initiated from the sponge city concept. It is kind of like the concept that developed way back into 2000 in China. And the idea of it is like make the city act like the nature. And it's going to include various it's called sponge strategies, or you can also call it low impact development. We have wetland, biowaste, permeable pavement, and some various like green roof, some riparian buffer can be included as well. And all of them kind of landscape gonna work together to make the city gonna observe all this kind of water, include rainwater, stormwater runoff, and it's gonna slow down the runoff level. And it's also help to ease the pressures on the infrastructures.
So it's a from what I'm hearing, a park with specific types of plants and I guess horticulture that absorbs a lot of water. Is that right?
Yeah, it's gonna store the water, and it's gonna like during the rainfall, if you have a heavy rain, and this kind of like landscape gonna store the water, it's filter water, it's gonna create clean water as well, and it's gonna wait when all the rainfall event over, it's gonna safely release it back into the water body, so it's gonna reduce the flooding issues in urban neighborhood.
It just kind of slows down the movement then.
Yep, it is. That's the key concept.
So I want to hear more about your master's thesis, Sponge by the Forks. First of all, I love the name. Very fun. How do you think a sponge park would work in a location like the Forks?
Actually, there's multiple reasons that I choose the Forks. I call it a pilot sponge project. The idea of my project is like you have multiple sponge park across the urban neighborhood in downtown. So it's going to act as the local catch basin for all the runoff water that we have when during the rainfall or when the snow melt in the spring. So the Forks, because it's located right at the heart of the downtown, and it's also have some kind of like history gathering of indigenous people. It's also located at the confluence between Red River and Assiniboine River. So that's the reason why I choose the Forks at the pilot sponge. It's also have much with the reduce the flooding, like cleaning the water of the neighborhood. And it's also a good spot for public engagement and then educating people in the city about how you can use the water at the resources rather than fighting against it.
So sponge parks, they're not new. They might be new to Canada. They would be new to Winnipeg if we implemented them. But they're, from what I know, they're used heavily in tropical climates. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's kind of popular in China. Like in China back in 2008, Beijing, the capital of China, they experienced very severe flooding. And afterwards, the Chinese government tried to implement a lot of pilot sponge, they call it sponge city, across the country. And that kind of thing they implement first, they they begin with a very small like pilot sponge park that we have, like what we have in Montreal. And then they increase and they expand it in the urban planning scale that trying to control and reduce the flooding, reduce the water level of the watershed scale.
And did it work?
As far as I know, first they only have like 16 pilot sponge city, but then they expanded to 30. So it's worked at some point, and it's not really resolved the flooding. I believe that it's worked together with all the the engineer infrastructure that they have, but it is have like easing the pressures on the infrastructure itself, but not like something like magical happen overnight,
Right.
like resolve the flooding right away.
Right. So it would take some time. T, I really appreciate your time. This is a fascinating concept. Thank you so much for explaining it to us.
Yeah, thank you so much.
T Nguyen is a architectural intern at Number 10 Architectural Group here in Winnipeg. The time is 7:56. You're listening to Information Radio on CBC Radio 1. And I do want to mention just a note here for our listeners in Cranberry, Portage, and Flin Flon. There is a planned outage for tower work today that will cause service disruptions between 8 a.m., so just coming up here in a couple minutes, and 9 p.m. You can, however, still access CBC Radio 1 through your CBC News app and your CBC Listen app as well on your CBC News website. Again, this is Cranberry, Portage, and Flin Flon. You have a planned outage for tower work today, causing service disruptions between 8 a.m. and 9 p.m. So right now, if you want to just flip on over to your CBC News app or your CBC Listen app or our website. And in Wasagamak, a project to replace a transmitter building is starting today at 3 p.m. and it's lasting until the 17th at 10 a.m. So power will be disconnected from the building and the transmitter will be off air during this time. So for our listeners in Wasagamak, starting at 3 p.m. today, you will be without your CBC Radio 1 connection. So again, you can access that through your CBC News app, your CBC Listen app, or our website. It's time now to head to CBC's Heather Wells for a look at news headlines.
Good morning. Well, all eyes are on the Assiniboine River in Brandon. It could crest as early as today. Mayor Jeff Fawcett says levels have risen nearly 2.5 meters. That's 8 feet in just the last few days. He says crews are working around the clock to prepare. And it is all about the heat for many Manitobans, how to deal with all this scorching, steamy weather. McCreary set a new record yesterday, the hottest spot in Manitoba at 36.7. In all, 7 new records were set yesterday, while 4 locations tied previous records. I'll be back with more Manitoba news at 8:30.
Thank you very much, Heather. Still lots to come here on Information Radio. After World Report, it's easier than ever to buy a pair of smart glasses. But what risks do the unassuming eyeglasses carry, especially when AI joins the party? We're going to speak to someone who has been studying the wearable tech just after 8 o'clock. Stay with us.
Hi, I'm Jill Deacon, sitting in for Tom Power.
But you are not serious people.
During its iconic run, Succession had everyone on the edge of their seats waiting every week for a new episode. The show's creator, Jesse Armstrong, will bring you behind the scenes and explain why the F word sounds so much better with a Scottish accent.
Q, this morning at 10:30 in Newfoundland, and on CBC Listen, or wherever you get your podcasts. The CBC News is next. Coming up in half an hour, it's The Current.
I'm Pia Chattopadhyay. Canada is making historic investments in its defense strategy. The Prime Minister says they're the key to Canada's sovereignty. But in that big military spending, are we buying the right stuff? That's coming up on The Current.
This is World Report. Good morning. I'm Marcia Young. A fire destroyed a bar in Bangkok overnight. At least 27 people are dead. Video shows fire shooting out the front door. Black smoke pours out onto the street and into the air. The country's prime minister says a musician at the bar said smoke was coming out of a circuit breaker. The power went out. Then there was an explosion. 25 others are in critical condition. Investigators are working to determine the cause of the fire. 3 people were killed in 2 separate shootings in Toronto over the weekend. Several others were injured. The search continues for the people who opened fire during a street festival. 2 people were killed and multiple others were injured during Salsa and St. Clair Festival Saturday. Thousands of people had gathered when a gunfight broke out. The CBC's Philip Lee Shannock has more.
This community works so hard. I don't think it's a reflection of the area.
Jennifer Goulet says residents are still processing a reckless act of violence at a crowded festival. But she says the community that hosts Canada's largest celebration of Latino music and culture is resilient.
I think it is likely some kind of isolated incident. The community here is so fortified. Everybody works so hard to support one another.
Toronto police say 2 men began firing at each other while in a crowd of 13,000 people. Restaurant owner Harsh Chawla says he sheltered as many as he could.
And the patio was full of customers, so we all ducked. We brought everybody in the restaurant. We made sure everybody was safe.
Bernardo Cisternas, who lives in the area, says people need to be reassured that the many summer festivals in the city are safe.
I think it's for the city to respond in a very loud way and take back control of what we used to be, which was a safe city, a clean city.
Deputy Chief Frank Barato says despite the shooting, the city is safe.
We are 3 million people, and unfortunately we are not completely immune to some of the things that happen globally, quite frankly. But Toronto is an extremely safe city.
He says 2 guns were found at the scene, and investigators have lots of witnesses and video evidence. No arrests have been made. Philip Shannock, CBC News, Toronto.
The murderer of a former British politician, Anne Whitcomb, is now being investigated as a terrorist act. A 28-year-old man was arrested, released, then arrested again on terrorism charges. Member of Parliament Anne Whitcomb was found dead in her home in southwest England last week. She was known for conservative views against expanding LGBTQ+ rights. The social conservative found fame after leaving her post in Parliament to appear on reality TV shows. She most recently joined the Anti-Immigration Reform UK Party, appearing as a spokesperson for the organization. The U.S. military completed another barrage of strikes against Iran overnight. According to U.S. Central Command, dozens of targets were hit. Missiles launched from a U.S. naval vessel. Washington says it hit Iranian air defense systems, coastal radar sites, and small boats. The strikes are an attempt to stop Iranian attacks on commercial ships in the Strait of Hormuz.
در پی تجاوزات بامداد امروز آمریکا به مناطقی در جنوب ایران
Meanwhile, Iranian media says the country's army has responded by targeting nations in the region. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps says it struck U.S. military facilities in Bahrain and Kuwait. The IRGC also destroyed radar systems in Oman. The renewed hostility casts further doubt on the future of the month-old U.S.-Iranian ceasefire. A power shift is brewing in Washington. Senator Lindsey Graham's death over the weekend has left U.S. President Donald Trump without one of his closest allies. The South Carolina Republican died from a tear in his aorta. He turned 71 just 2 days before his death. The CBC's Willie Lowry joins me now from Washington. And Willie, what impact does this have on the Trump administration?
Lindsey Graham was one of the most high-profile Republicans in the Senate and a longtime champion of a more robust and interventionist foreign policy. He was also a close confidant, friend, and political ally to President Donald Trump. His influence helped steer much of American foreign policy over the last decade and certainly during this second Trump administration. He was very active on the Ukraine file, advocating for more military support there. He had, in fact, just returned from the country the day before he died. Preliminary reports suggest he died of an aortic dissection, which is when a tear emerges in the inner layer of the main artery. He was also a big supporter of the Iran war and of Israel. His loss will be felt not just here in Washington, but by American allies in Europe and the Middle East. He constantly pushed for more military support for both Ukraine and Israel.
There are concerns about the health of another Republican, Senator Mitch McConnell. What do we know?
That's right. The former Senate Majority Leader issued a statement yesterday, almost appearing as a proof of life message. The 84-year-old had not cast a vote in the Senate since June 11th and has not been seen in public since June 14th. McConnell's office has released a photo of the senator sitting alongside his wife with his hand on a newspaper. McConnell says he fell and was briefly unconscious before being taken to hospital. He also said that he had mild pneumonia and that he was still not well enough to return to work, but that he was recovering. McConnell is set to retire in January. For decades, he was one of the most powerful Republicans in Washington and has been credited with pushing through several conservative Supreme Court nominees.
Thank you, Willie.
My pleasure.
The CBC's Willie Lowry in Washington. Trade relations between Canada and the U.S. remain strictly on the rocks. A multi-million-dollar backlog of banned U.S. alcohol is adding fuel to the fire. The rest of the country has found ways to offload their banned U.S. booze. Ontario has not. The province is holding on to a roughly $80 million stockpile. As Colin Butler reports, the situation is increasingly irritating some U.S. diplomats.
I haven't seen anyone talk about what's going to happen with that inventory.
That's Marvin Ryder, a marketing professor at McMaster University. Ontario's Liquor Board says it spent $8 million storing the stranded American inventory. 97% is still within its normal shelf life and 3% expired.
Chaos. Absolute chaos.
Stacey Kyle is the executive director of British Columbia's Import Vintners and Spirits Association. She says warehouses are built around predictable inventory, not millions of dollars worth of returned alcohol arriving all at once. British Columbia found a way to move or sell off at least some of its existing American inventory. Ontario has not. U.S. Ambassador Pete Hoekstra even ended his recent 4th of July speech with a wish.
Next year, hopefully we can all take a toast of American bourbon legally in the province of Ontario.
Colin Butler, CBC News, London, Ontario.
Alberta's digital gambling market is getting a shakeup. The province plans to open its gambling market to outside operators. Dozens of companies are eager to set up shop, but as Salam Valji reports, the transition comes with addiction warnings.
We can expect a significant uptick in advertising. Same thing has happened in Ontario years ago, and that's a problem.
Alberta is now allowing private gambling operators to set up in the province as of today, following Ontario, which launched in 2022. But it comes with risks. Robert Williams is the research coordinator with the Alberta Gambling Research Institute. He explains the downside of that messaging, particularly for problem gamblers.
These constant reminders, are often precipitators for relapse.
Prior to today, the only way Albertans could legally wager on sports is through Play Alberta, a platform operated by the province. 80% of Alberta's gambling revenue will now go to operators, with 20% coming back to the province. Alberta is introducing voluntary self-exclusion right from the launch. Users who feel they are gambling too much can sign up and then be barred from casinos and gaming platforms for up to 3 years. Provincial officials say they wanted to open the market because many Albertans were already gambling. They're just using offshore websites that couldn't be regulated or taxed. Salam Valji, CBC News, Calgary.
Actor Sam Neill is dead. He appeared in dozens of films and TV series, but he is best known for his role as the lead in 1993's Jurassic Park. Neill played the paleontologist Dr. Alan Grant, a reluctant hero who would rather be digging up dead dinosaurs than escaping from the prehistoric predators. Neill announced in 2023 he had a rare form of cancer. His family said he was cancer-free when he died. They did not give a cause of death. Sam Neill was 78 years old. That is World Report. I'm Marcia Young.
Good morning, Manitoba. I'm Chloe Friesen, filling in this morning for Marcy Marcusa. You're listening to Information Radio on CBC Radio 1. 89.3 FM, 990 AM, on our YouTube live stream or anywhere on the CBC News app. Thanks for joining us. Well, coming up on the show, Meta sold 7 million pairs of smart glasses last year, and leaked documents show that they now plan to add facial recognition capability to the product. Would you be comfortable with someone accessing your Facebook profile in the moment they look at you? A conversation about the ethics of tech specs coming up. It is now time for news headlines with CBC's Heather Wells.
Good morning. Well, thousands of people living near the Assiniboine River in Brandon have been warned. Get your go bag ready just in case flooding forces you out. The river is expected to crest today in Brandon and remain at peak levels for a period of time. The mayor of Brandon says crews are working around the clock to protect infrastructure. And how hot did it get? McCreary setting a new record yesterday, the hottest spot in Manitoba at 36.5 degrees. In all, 7 new records were set yesterday, while 4 locations tied previous records. And those heat warnings, they're still here. They continue for parts of the north and Interlake and eastern Manitoba. Those ones are all yellow level warnings. In the south, including Winnipeg and Brandon, under an orange level heat warning today. Temperatures in the mid-30s, humidex in the mid-40s. We'll have more Manitoba news for you coming up at 8:30.
Heather, something I'm not used to is the fact that Information Radio is live streamed on YouTube.
Yeah.
So I have to watch my facial expressions, right? Which I found I can't do whenever you are reading those records that have been broken, those heat levels. My face immediately just erupts in just like, ugh, no.
I really want to see that.
I'll come do it for you later in the office. I'll show you my best, it's too hot face.
I'm sure whoever's watching, I'm sure they're loving it because they feel the same.
I sure hope so. Thank you, Heather.
Thank you.
Corey?
And meanwhile, here in the office, it is like chill. Like my hands are cold. It's 18. So shout out to all the office workers out there.
Don't complain about it, though.
I know it's true. It's fair enough.
I'm also the type where I'm like, it's too cold inside, and then I go outside. It's too hot outside.
The extremes.
There's no happy medium.
No happy medium. And there won't be any happy medium today. There is another orange heat warning in effect for southern Manitoba. Here in Winnipeg, we're already at 27 degrees, heading for a high today of 35, with the humidex going to feel more like 45 out there today. That air is going to be thick. And it's a similar case across much of southern Manitoba and even central Manitoba as well, which is under a yellow warning. We're talking about areas around like Flin Flon, the Pas. You're looking kind of more like 30 or so is your high today, but obviously going to feel much more warmer than that with the humidex. And then as you get further north, up in Thompson, you are going to be hitting a high today of about 26 with a chance of thunderstorms as well, but a 60% chance of thunderstorms. But down here in the city, we are at 27 right now at the Forks. As for your commute, very quiet overall so far. It's definitely summertime out there. But if you're walking, you're biking, you're driving, you see something going on, you can give me a call on the CBC commuter line. Haven't heard anything yet this morning. That number to call, 204-788-3093.
Coming up next on Information Radio, Meta is trying to make smart glasses more accessible and more powerful. The company's latest line of wearable tech can play music, translate languages, answer questions about a person's surroundings, and film videos from the wearer's point of view. In addition, a leaked internal memo received by the New York Times says that Meta wants to add facial recognition to its glasses as well. It's a new feature dubbed Name Tag. The proposed addition has our next guest concerned. Neil MacArthur is the Director for Professional and Applied Ethics and a professor of philosophy at the University of Manitoba. He's here to talk about the ethics of AI glasses. Good morning, Neil.
Good morning.
So what are your main concerns with the proposed facial recognition feature on Meta smart glasses?
Well, my main concern is that it's creepy and that it could be misused. Meta has been a little evasive about what they want to do. The latest thing they're saying is, well, it will only be used to recognize people that you've already met and who are in a sort of internal database. But we just don't know, and I think Meta does not have a lot of trust. So I think it is potentially very creepy.
Do we know, does anything in the memo tell us how it would work? Like, what information would people be able to access when they look at someone?
Well, yeah, they have been a little evasive. Again, I think the latest thing that we've heard is that what will happen is that everyone you've met will kind of go into your own little internal database, and then you'll be able to identify them based on that. I think there are concerns that at some point there may be. Meta obviously has a vast database of users through Facebook and Instagram, and so if they wanted to, they could pretty much implement universal facial recognition. And again, this is a company that just says one thing and does another. They sort of they boil the frog slowly, and so I think the ultimate concern is that this will be a complete system of facial recognition, or at the very least that it could be hacked to turn into that. I think we've already seen hackers use this to access facial recognition using Facebook profiles.
People's information is already online and on social media. They voluntarily kind of give that info. I guess the question is, what's the big deal?
Well, the big deal, I think, is that, I think it's one thing to have a Facebook profile. It's another thing to have the person sitting across from you on the bus be able to recognize you and message you and even potentially harass you. So I think this is a leveling up. I think it's the same goes with, people say, well, what's the big deal about being filmed in public if you're walking around down the street, you know that you're being observed. But I think that being filmed and having that recorded forever and being accessed through a database of faces is just a different level of invasion. I think most people would not be comfortable with that.
I know you also have concerns regarding just the filming capabilities of Meta glasses. They're getting sleeker, I would say. Cameras aren't entirely visible at first glance. What are your concerns around that?
Yeah, so Meta has a light that's supposed to tell you when it's recording, but that light can be hacked. They just updated it to make it harder to do that, but it's previously been pretty easy to hack. And you're already seeing, people are being, ambushed on the street. There was an influencer who says that her, every time she gets off a plane, there's, 5 people who knew her travel schedule who are there filming her with their glasses. So I think, what people are worried about is being observed all the time. And in fact, Meta just announced a forthcoming set of smart glasses that are going to be recording all the time. So I think what people are worried about, what I'm worried about, is a world where we are never in private, where we're everywhere we go, we're always being filmed. And if you're famous or have any profile or, are a journalist even, there may be people just following you around.
I'm curious about the legalities around this. I know you specialize in philosophy, but filming people in public is legal. What do you think the difference is here when it's smart glasses? Are there any rules or laws against that?
Unfortunately, right now, there are, other than in Quebec, which has some laws governing facial recognition by businesses and other entities. Right now, there's basically no laws. If you don't have a reasonable expectation of privacy, so if you're out in public, you really have no legal protection against someone filming you unless it's in an intimate situation. So I think right now our laws basically don't deal with facial recognition at all. We have older laws that deal with when you can film and when you can't. And they're pretty loose. They're pretty loose when it comes to being in public, and they don't address the specifics of facial recognition. So no, people I think need to realize that there is right now basically no laws in Canada other than in Quebec that deal with facial recognition at all.
And does it feel different with the fact that, I don't know, if I'm holding a camera in front of my face, that's a pretty clear indicator that I am taking a photo or I am filming a video. And these are just glasses.
That's right. They're glasses. And I think, people say, well, maybe you could just put a sign on your door of your business, or you could say to people, I don't consent to be filmed, or so on. I don't think that's going to work. And one of the concerns I have, too, is these are also people's glasses. So if you make people take off their glasses, some people are going to not be able to see and may have an accessibility issue with that. So I think, right now, I think we need new laws. It's basically the bottom line.
Do you have any ideas on what those laws would and should cover?
Yes, I think they should cover basically the use of facial recognition. I think they should explicitly say that you cannot use any technology that is going to recognize your face without your consent. I think it needs to be as simple as that.
Meta, these are becoming more popular. As I mentioned earlier, they sold more than 7 million pairs last year globally. They now start at $277, which is fairly accessible. And now we're seeing celebrities like Kylie Jenner collaborating to release and promote her own her own line of fashion forward, we'll call them, AI smart glasses. What do you suspect is going to happen as more and more people start wearing and using smart glasses?
My suspicion, I think I can already see people hate this, and I hate it, and so I don't blame them. I think there's going to be a huge backlash. I think, Meta is going to keep pushing this. I think people are going to keep adopting it. They're going to keep selling well. They're going to get cheaper. They're going to get more stylish. Obviously, the objective is to make these look like just regular glasses and not, right now they look a little goofy. Make them look like regular glasses. So I think that's going to, it's going to become more and more widely adopted. But I think, again, people just hate this. Meta is a company with absolutely no goodwill among the public. We already saw, the glass holes phenomenon where Google tried to introduce these and people just hated it and lashed out against it. I suspect the backlash is coming.
There is, you can't deny that there are very interesting features. I think about translation. That could be very helpful in a lot of scenarios. Do you think there's a way that smart glasses could be worn and used ethically, in your opinion?
I do think that. I think that's right. I think that they aren't just facial recognition machines. I think they do a lot of other things. They give directions. They give translation. You can use them as headphones. They're pretty cool tech, I have to say. I'm not going to deny that they are pretty cool, and they're getting cooler. So I think my concerns really specifically have to do with the facial recognition. And I think that it's, first of all, would be very easy for the company just to turn those off. I think it'd be easy for us to have laws around it. And yes, I think it would be easy for people just to use them in a way that doesn't, that isn't creepy. So I think that, yes, as users, we can just choose to not be creepy about these things. I don't think that is actually very difficult. And maybe that is what most people will do.
Neil, really appreciate your time this morning. Thank you for joining us.
It's lots of fun. Thanks so much.
Neil MacArthur is a director for professional and applied ethics and a professor of philosophy at the University of Manitoba.
You know the voices that tell the story of our province. Now you can take them anywhere. From the essential start to your day on information radio to the conversations that define our lunch hour on Radio Noon and the pulse of the city on Up to Speed, your local connection is always within reach. Just open the CBC News app, tap the local drop-down, and hit play. Your favorite voices, your province, right in your pocket. Download the CBC News app today, your daily rhythm, live and local.
That is a bit of Die Die, Shakira and Burna Boy's official song for the FIFA World Cup. It's a song that has been on repeat for Canadian dancer and choreographer Megan Mukamba. The 18-year-old is getting ready for the biggest performance of her dance career so far. The CBC's Sophia Marnouge met up with Megan at École Danse Louise in Ottawa. It's a dance studio where she is preparing to be part of the World Cup final halftime show.
5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4. My name is Megan Mukamba, and I'm a dancer, a choreographer, and I have been invited by Shakira to perform with her at the halftime performance for the final game.
And how did that happen? How does Shakira find out that Megan can dance and could be part of the halftime show?
Yeah, so basically a while ago in May, I was invited to dance with an influencer called Enola Badar in LA, and we created a concept video to Shakira's new song called Die Die, the one that she made for the FIFA. Shakira saw it herself, and she reposted us and invited us to dance with her. And ever since then, it's been paperwork and confirmation, and it's officially happening.
What was it like when Shakira reposted that video? Did you expect her to actually see that on social media?
Oh, not at all. We were all super shocked, and it was kind of it was unbelievable, to see that she could actually see the video. And obviously the video did really well, so like it was maybe bound to happen, but like it was still like crazy that she saw it and like wanted us to dance with her.
How do you prepare for a performance in front of millions and millions of people with Shakira?
I try not to think about it too much because then it's gonna like get in my head, but like I train a lot. I try to train every day, my dancing. I'm just trying to really get educated on everything so that I know everything when I get there, and all that's left is to just dance and show what I have.
What are you most excited for?
Definitely to meet the Shakira and to like get to dance next to her, like just be in her presence. And I'm also excited to meet all the people that she invited, because she invited people from all around the world. So I'm excited to see everyone that she's invited, and I'm excited to see the girls that I was dancing with in LA. I'm excited to see everyone. It's gonna be huge, but it's gonna be amazing.
And who will be supporting you? Who will be cheering you on, maybe from the hotel room or from the stands?
I definitely have my mom that's going to be cheering me. My dad is also going to be cheering me on. I have my sister. I have all my family, all my friends. Like everyone's in on it. So it's going to be big, and I have a very good support system behind me.
Well, I'll let you get back to rehearsing and getting ready for the big day. Thanks so much for chatting with me, Megan.
Thank you.
Megan Mukamba is a dancer and choreographer. She'll be taking the stage alongside Shakira to perform in the World Cup final halftime show on July 19th. Final takes place in New Jersey. Kickoff is at 3 p.m. Now let's take a listen to that song that started this whole adventure for Megan. And also you can get some dance practice in too. Die Die by Shakira and Burna Boy.
Made you strong. Die, die, equal, darling, let's go. Die, die, equal, darling, let's go.
Come follow your desire. When there's a will, there's a way. You're the owner of that fire. No one can take it away.
Sweat and blood to write your story. That is how you pave the way. You're about to reach the glory. Only one step away.
All the highs and lows, all the tears and the pain.
You've been there through it all, been through it all. Just do it again. Now you get to believe, I believe. Cause you know what it takes to believe in my dream. At the top of your game. Feel it, got everything you need it. Now bring it like you mean it.
Just like you mean it.
Dale, olvida lo que vale.
Juega como tú sabes, como tú sabes.
And it's just contagious, you know.
And it never fails.
No, no,
No one's getting tired.
I know.
You got that fire.
Hey, yo, dream a little higher. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Hey, yo. Hey, yo.
We've taken all that our hearts can hold. And we can't hold on to the past no more. From the dirt and the tears we make gold. We are more than flesh and bones.
All the highs and lows, all the tears and the pain.
You've been there through it all, been through it all. Just do it again.
Now you get to believe, I believe. Cause you know what it takes to believe in my dream. At the top of your game.
Feel it, got everything you needed. Now bring it like you mean it. Just like you mean it.
Dale, olvida lo que vale.
Juega como tú sabes, como tú sabes.
Pelé, Maradona, Maldini, Romario, Cristiano, Ronaldo,
El vive Iniesta, Beckham y Kaká.
Messi, Mbappé, Salah, Brasil, Uruguay, Argentina, Colombia, US, England, Germany, France, South Africa, España, México, Japan, Korea, Netherlands.
Oh, eh, oh, eh. Eh, oh, eh. Oh, eh, oh, eh. Eh, oh, eh.
You from the day you were born,
There in this place, you belong. You've been disgraced.
That is Die Die by Shakira and Burna Boy. Thank you to the team here on Information Radio. Kaylin Monkman, Sophia Peralta Barone, Corey Funk, our studio director. Abby Adiemi is our studio technician. And our YouTube producer is Darren Morash. Nelly Gonzalez, show producer, and Leif Larson is our senior producer of audio. I'm Chloe Friesen, filling in for Marcy Marcusa. Your CBC News is next.
This is CBC News. Good morning. I'm Heather Wells in Winnipeg. At 8:30, it's already 27 degrees. Bit of a southwest wind, though, picking up. We're going to see that wind become west and lighter this afternoon, but that temperature higher. A high of 35, humidex 44. Sweltering heat still stifles Manitoba. Heat warnings are in effect for parts of the north as well as the Interlake and parts of eastern Manitoba. Those are all yellow level warnings. Southern Manitoba, including Winnipeg and Brandon, is under an orange level warning. Temperatures in the mid-30s are expected. The hottest spot yesterday in Manitoba was McCreary, 36.5, and Environment Canada says 7 new records were set yesterday, including in McCreary, while 4 locations tied previous records. All eyes today are on the Assiniboine River in Brandon, which could crest as early as today. Mayor Jeff Fawcett says levels have risen nearly 2.5 meters, 8 feet, in the last few days. All the heavy rain that flooded the parkland is now funneling through the river towards Brandon. Fawcett says the river could rise another foot and stay at that level for a while. He says the weather cooperated over the weekend and crews are working around the clock to prepare.
We have very good infrastructure in place, and it's monitored and maintained, and it gives us a viable chance to make it through these things.
Now, crews have closed First Street northbound near Dinsdale Park as water levels rose and seeped through the sandbags there. Thousands of people living near the Assiniboine and Brandon have been warned to have their go bags ready just in case the flooding forces them out. Lana Carnegie lives near the river's southern bank with her dog and cat. Their kennels are ready. She's packed up their food and favorite toys, and she has a go bag for herself.
Take it as it is. Don't panic. Like, what's going to happen is going to happen. There's nothing else we can do at this point in time. So it's just waiting for the crest, and just be ready. Have your stuff ready. That's the best thing you can do.
As of yesterday, evacuation orders have not been issued in Brandon. The city of Brandon is going to give us a flood update later this morning. A new measure to help stop crime has launched in Thompson. That northern city now has a crime suppression unit, a group of RCMP officers working to take on downtown crime. Staff Sergeant Dave Michaud says police are called often, and this new team could help address community issues.
We are responding to so many calls for service. So having this unit here to be dedicated to those things and dealing with and working closely with the community safety officers here, I think it'll be incredibly beneficial for the city.
Money to support this unit has come from the city of Thompson, and $250,000 came from the provincial government. The RCMP is providing staff. Buses, taxis, public transit, all things that do not exist in many rural Manitoba communities. But now, Red River Rides is giving people living in Saint-Pierre-Joli and municipalities of Richat and de Salaberry a way to get around. It's a car share program using electric vehicles. Richat Mayor Chris Ewan hopes the program makes living in the country more accessible to more people.
I have seen missed opportunities with immigration where people are looking at living in larger hubs because they don't have the availability of a vehicle. They don't have transportation opportunity. So if we can kind of cross that off of their concern, that's one step closer to becoming a member in rural Manitoba.
The program is funded from all 3 levels of government. Some of Canada's best female baseball players took a swing at winning the national championship in Winnipeg over the weekend. Team Manitoba erupting in cheers after scoring a home run Sunday. More than 100 athletes from 6 provinces faced each other in this tournament. In the crowd, 10-year-old Brenly Thomas from the Red River Coyotes under-12 baseball team.
It feels good to see what I might be doing 10 years from now. It would be cool if I could try it. I could do that when I'm older.
Manitoba finished the championship in 5th place after beating Saskatchewan 15-4. You can find more on these stories and other news as it's updated throughout the day. All you have to do is head to cbc.ca/Manitoba.
Thank you very much, Heather. Stay cool today.
Sorry, I missed that.
Oh, I said stay cool today.
Oh, I'm going to try. But you know what? I actually like being hot.
Okay. Well, today's the perfect day for you then. Congratulations.
Absolutely. I'm loving it.
That is CBC's Heather Wells. Corey Funk, maybe the only person I know who's happy about this weather.
Me?
No, Heather.
Oh, Heather, I know.
No, not you.
No, I'm like
not you.
distraught.
You've been complaining all morning.
Oh, yeah, it's been awful. But I also, there might be some people complaining as for the commute. Just got a call from Andre. There is a downed tree blocking southbound Cambridge between Grant and Taylor there. So you can get around it by just skirting around on like the kind of northbound side of it. But that might throw off your commute a little bit. It's just a side street, but it might be an issue. Other than that, they've been a pretty quiet commute overall, though here in the city weather-wise. Yeah, there's plenty to complain about. We're heading for a high today of 35 here in Winnipeg. It's already 27. With the Humidex, it's going to feel more like 45. And that's the case for much of the province. We're under a orange level heat warning for southern Manitoba, yellow level for central Manitoba.
All right. Thank you, Corey.
Thank you.
Well, coming up on The Current, Canada has announced a series of big military purchases, which Mark Carney says are key to Canada's sovereignty. But given how warfare is changing, some question whether we are buying the right stuff. You can join guest host Pia Chattopadhyay for The Current this morning. Just coming up next here on CBC Radio 1. I'm Chloe Friesen. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.